This morning, we want to talk about the state of education and politics. And in studio, we do have Honorable Clive Ombane Gisaro. He is MP Kitutu Masaba Constituency and a member of the Education and Research and NG-CDF committees. Hey, Mheshimiwa, welcome to Radio Generation.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. I asked Mheshimiwa when he walked in city, how are things? And he said...
Which things were you asking about?
I just asked, how are things? Flow na conversation city.
Okay, ninyamaze nisikie.
It's flow to now. So nikauliza Mheshimiwa, how are things? And he told me things are not good. And I asked him why. He said he is a public figure. He represents people, and when he can no longer hold brief for himself, he has to hold brief for a lot of people, and the people that he actually represents, anasema things are not good. Yeah. So Mheshimiwa, first of all, again, welcome to Radio Generation.
Thank you.
When you say things are not good, what exactly do you mean, sir?
Things are good if our people can wake up and know that there is something productive they're going to do that is going to help them take care of their families, that's going to help them, their children, go to school,
right,
and get proper education, that they know in case illness befalls them, they're able to walk into a public health facility and get medication, where our youths, after finishing college and graduating, have some hope that they will get some level of a job to get them started. Sadly, I don't think that any of that is achievable in our Kenya today.
Right.
Yeah.
But the government has painted a very good picture. Well, not really good, but they're saying that things are improving. Wanasema bei ya mahindi, bei ya unga imeteremka, and they've gone on to mention a couple of things I really can't remember right now, top of my mind, but they're saying that things are improving.
Correct. Bei ya unga kushuka is okay, but if I don't have a job to earn, whether you bring that bei ya unga chini, how do I feed my children? You've not answered the question. Right? It's not about lowering the cost. Yes, that is okay.
Yeah.
But that's not the foundation. The foundation is how do we create opportunities. We are graduating thousands of students, right?
Right.
But are we giving them the opportunities, right? So that is where my problem is.
Right.
Yeah.
So situ meskia. So when he says things are not good, that's exactly what he means. We also have our second guest in studio. As he takes his seat, I will be doing that introduction. It is Honorable Wilson Sossion, veteran educator and also a unionist. Mheshimiwa, welcome to Radio Generation.
Yeah, thank you. Good morning.
Good morning to you too. I was just asking the MP here about the state of the nation, the state of politics, and he said that the people that he represents, things are not necessarily good for them, and he's gone on to give a very brief explanation, but I was satisfied with that particular explanation and that introduction to the things that we're here to talk about. We want to look at the state of education, and I will start with you, Mheshimiwa, on the situation that we're currently facing. We've seen in the education sector a couple of things happening. Ghost schools, capitation ya mashule imeleta shida, and of course we know the government is intending to employ a couple of more teachers. I don't know if they've already done it. So up to that particular point, what can we say about the state of our education?
When it comes to employment of teachers, I would like to say that the government has tried on that part. Yes, there's another batch of 24,000, I think, being recruited. Advertisements are out. Of course, that is at the entry stage of internship. I don't consider that very much of employment until the time they are confirmed.
Yeah.
So there is a 24,000 of internship that will be absorbed to get into class in January. But that's just as far it goes, as it goes. One goes now to the real issue, which is capitation. I'm happy that today I'm seated here with Honorable Sossion, who's been a unionist, fighting for the rights of teachers and all that. When it comes to capitation, we've not done well. We've not done well at all.
Yeah.
And I sit in that committee, and I can say it. We've always portrayed the picture of capitation in secondary being 22,000.
Yeah.
But that has been the wrong picture. for the last 5 years. The correct picture is that they've never been able to send over 16,000. So, and when we ask them,
Over the last how many years?
5 years.
5 years.
Yes.
Okay.
So when you ask them, what exactly do you expect the head of institution to do with the gap? Because you've told them, for a child, the budget should be 22,000, but the principal is receiving 16,000. What happens with the difference? Is that a pending bill? I remember one day in the committee when I raised that question, we're told it's not a pending bill. The CS for Treasury said, and I think you heard him say it, that actually the principal is supposed to budget with what they receive, not what we tell them they will receive. Those are two different things. If I tell you 22,000 is what's budgeted for the child, don't budget for that. If in term one you receive 6,000, budget for the 6,000.
Yeah.
So at the end of the year, you shouldn't be telling me about pending bill. Now already that creates a problem. So the question is, what exactly is the cost of educating a child in secondary? Is it 22 or is it
16?
No, or is it what I will send you? Because even that 16 is not guaranteed. It is what you receive. Remember, the statement is budget with what you receive.
Okay.
So the capitation issues and delayed capitation, that is a major thorn in the flesh for head of institutions. And then the most sad part is the ghost schools. The ghost schools are there.
Yeah.
That one for a fact. The ghost schools are there. Money being sent to schools that actually, capitation money, that don't even have students. Infrastructure money being sent to schools that don't exist. It's an issue that as a committee we've even asked the PS to bring the list of all the schools that received infrastructure money. Yeah. Just 2 months ago. To date, it is a cat and mouse.
Okay. Honorable Sossion, over to you. What the state of education, in your opinion?
Yeah, thank you. I think as we address the current challenges, let us trace the history of the challenges that have been bedeviling education over the last couple of years. Education is determined by the policies of the government of the day. If the policies are wrong, then we'll have systematic rot and breakdown of our education system. President William Ruto inherited an education system that had suffered systematic breakdown and rot. And so to reorganize such a system is not going to be easy, it's going to take time. And if you look at the education outcomes in terms of global competitiveness, before 2013, we were #1 in both quality and access in Africa. And by the exit of Jubilee administration, we went down below #10 because many things were introduced which were wrong. Remember the laptops which never worked, teachers were not trained. That was just pocket money of individuals, and a lot of flagship businesses were brought to education that were meant to trigger businesses, including even the curriculum reform. The manner in which it was done without public consultation respecting professional views was wrong. When we come to capitation, it has never gone beyond 17,000 since 2017. That is a fact for sure. So there has been inaccurate data getting out to the public, and the other terrible thing that happened is breakdown in accounting systems, because the capitation that is sent to school must be able to do specific things within the specific votates. And so the deliberate intention to dismantle school auditing and school accounting is what has invited the entire mess that we now see within the education sector. What the president has done is to reorganize the education system and reorganize the leadership and make policies clear. And we have seen the issues to do with teachers. I think this is one great investment that the president, because he said, will recognize, respect and support teachers. And that is why it was important to stabilize teachers by stopping delocalization, employing more teachers. In fact, this is a biggest employment numbers, that if the previous regime with the employment policy could have gone on, it would have taken 20 years to employ the current number, which is within this budget it will be 100,000, and the other gap will be bridged within the next financial year to 116,000. So employment of more teachers is about offloading the cost of indirect charges to parents and to households. It is a big step, and this has not happened with any other administration since independence, and probably is a big phenomenon globally.
Yep.
It is not possible to find any government administration globally that devotes resources and invest in employment of more teachers. And within the same thing, the investment in teachers is not just about the numbers, it's about making them to work. And we've seen within 2-3 years, teacher salary reviews have been conducted twice without much pressure, without street pressure. And the government and the president is moving ahead to ensure that some of these things are done. What must be done is done without necessarily waiting for teachers to demand. That is a big plus. Number 3, in terms of teachers, is the promotion aspect. Remember, Jubilee administration actually, in the name of cutting down the budget, yeah, and the austerity measures, actually attacked the promotional programs of teachers and introduced what we call career progression guidelines. But the president reintroduced the funding at a rate of 1 billion to cover 25,000 teachers in every budget for both direct and indirect. That was a bold move. And in the high-level meeting, which I would call the highest level of education policy that any government can conduct, which was conducted Saturday between the president and educators, and it is well within the ILO UNESCO framework, where democratic rights and political rights of teachers are granted because they can engage the president directly and they can discuss policies. It was agreed that the number of teachers would be double to be promoted annually, would be double from 25 to 50,000.
Okay.
And in fact, investing in promotion of teachers is a very good move, far much even better than the general salary rise for teachers. So you look at the president, the dignifying, respecting, and recognizing teachers. I think he has scored more than any other president in all the administrations that we've had. And in general policies of education, recalibrating the CBC to make it work so that we have a curriculum that works.
All right.
Yeah, is what the president did through extensive consultations. We negotiated before signing the charter in 2022 on 23rd of June, and the Presidential Working Party did the detailed work of consulting Kenyans and coming up with policy positions. Some of them that are contained in a sessional paper which is yet to be adopted by Parliament.
Okay.
That is going to see our primary schools converted into comprehensive schools that will house pre-primary, primary, and JS within and close to the households with no fees. There will be no fee structures sent to households. That means education is being brought closer to the household in an accessible manner. But what is contained within the policy framework of developing comprehensive schools is strengthening the quality of comprehensive schools, both in terms of infrastructure and human resource, which of course has already been addressed through employment of more teachers. So I think generally the recalibration of the education sector by the president is so strong and is hands-on, and he understands everything which goes on within the ministry. You know, it's important when you're a leader.
Yeah.
You understand everything that goes on with this within the sector, and you understand the people you can engage in.
Right.
For the first time, I think I can see, I can discern as a practitioner in that sector, I can discern normalcy, but not without these other gaps. Issues to do with accountability and corruption is real, and that must be addressed. I'm happy with the capitation.
Yeah.
For the first time, there is a thorough audit of every school, the numbers, by the Ministry of Education before dispersing the current capitation, which is about 17 billion. And I think those that have been audited is about 5 billion correctly, and they've been dispersed.
When you say auditing of every school, do you mean plus or minus the ghost schools?
That is weeding out the ghost schools and weeding out corrupt individuals. I think the issue of the ghost schools is real. Fake numbers is real, because
is this the first time we're getting to know about fake schools?
The fake schools have existed, but the ministry had not taken deliberate intention to weed them out. Out during disbursement. I wish to say,
because now Ruto is celebrating 3 years in power, so the monies were handed out the first time. They were handed out the second time.
Let me package it this way: not the first time. The disbursement of affordable secondary education money did not start with the Ruto administration. It had been there with Uhuru administration and partly Kibaki administration. The current fees were set by Kilemi Mwiria in 2014, through the through Kilemi Mwiria working committee, and I think it is almost time it is also revised. In 2017, the fees were actually set, and this disbursement have been going on. These structures of corruption is not something that started that they've been there, and now what is being done now is to dismantle. It must be dismantled, and therefore the call to pay the exact 22,500 was agreed at the high level meeting, and that the president said very clearly. What has been dispersed has always been 17, but for secondary schools, and the breach of 5,000 will be breached in the next 2 financial years. That's the reality, and we all agree. For primary schools,
I need to get
for primary schools, what was recommended by the Presidential Working Party was to elevate it to 2,100, and that is going to be breached within the next 2 financial years. I think Kenyans were not getting the right information, because the activities that were going on at the ministry were concealed, and some of them pointed towards corruption. Why would you have a school with 1 child and is registered, is recorded, and is getting capitation? And that is why what the ministry is doing now is the right thing that should have been done all along. Audit the numbers school by school before dispersing the numbers.
Ombane, you being a member of the Education Committee, first of all, were you aware of ghost schools? And by the time as a committee you're conducting your business, is this something that crossed your desk at any one point? Because we got to hear it literally after hii maneno yote ya capitation ilitokezea.
Sometimes I was listening to my friend, and he has served in parliament. We cannot be, every time we are called to explain, we have to start that the president inherited. I'm a member of parliament. It's my first term. Actually, was my first attempt to get into politics. At no point have I ever told my constituents that you guys, I inherited this mess and that mess. I have never ever bothered to discuss about the state at which I found. By the time I was getting into office, I had already assessed, I'd done a situation analysis, and seen what needed to be fixed. So while I got into office, I got myself ready and started solving the problems that I had seen and identified. Now, most people who will want to talk about the current regime will always have that statement. We inherited. 3 years down the line, we're being told we inherited. You get? President William Ruto was not alien to the previous administration. He was the number 2 for 10 years, not 1 day less. He was part and parcel of whatever he inherited. He was a continuation. Any attempt to try and tell us that he was not party to it, yet he earned taxpayers' money for 10 years as salary and the benefits, I think is trying to hoodwink Kenyans. once you take the job, do the job. When it comes to the ghost institutions, even before we talk about capitation, I have raised an issue here of funding or sending infrastructure money to non-existent schools. Is that also inherited? Bomet High School received 50 million. It is our committee that flagged that out, that there is no such a school.
Bomet High School doesn't exist.
Bomet Boys High School does not exist.
Okay.
But 50 million was being channeled there. And a few others. And that's why when we said, bring us the list of schools that have received infrastructure money. Because there are schools that don't exist. Money for Bomet was being wired through Tenwek.
Tenwek what?
It's a hospital.
Tenwek gas. You see? So money is going to another school to be purported, and you saw the area member of parliament coming up to say, no, it was a proposed school that was going to be built, but there are procedures for starting a new school.
So when you say money was channeled through Tenwek, are we saying that Tenwek actually received 50 million on behalf of this institution?
That is how they are trying to explain it.
Okay.
But we are asking, there is no such school. Where are the documentation showing that a school is supposed to be established? This is the process, and this is how the money is supposed to be channeled. Right? It was not there in our committee while we were allocating money. You know, it is funny nowadays that everything, the president does not do the budget. The budget is done by parliament. So, even when we talk about promotion, the money was allocated by our committee. It is issues that had been raised by unions, Kupet, NAT, to our committee. And it's issues that we carried and felt like promotion was the right of teachers. Right? The problem nowadays is that we've individualized everything in this country. That everything that happens, we say the president has done. And that is where we go wrong as a country. You know, we have institutions.
When you say what you say, Mheshimiwa, it makes perfect sense when you give an example, but I have to ask, how many schools did you flag as receiving monies and yet were non-existent?
What we did was this. We got around, first of all, 5 schools.
5 schools.
But we named one and insisted that they table, so that we don't be seen that we are fighting anyone. We told them, just table the list for the public. It is 2 months down the road. It is a cat and mouse. No one is tabling.
Do you have an idea of the schools, or are you waiting for the ministry to give you?
We have an idea. We have an idea of the schools. We have the names of the schools.
I think sometimes it's good to operate with clarity, total clarity, and that's why I urge parliamentarians and members of particularly my committee of education, because I was a member of committee of education in the last parliament, to be extremely accurate in the information that they're transacting. They should be able to ask the ministry, what was this 50 million for Bomet High School? It happens by coincidence that I'm an alumni of Tenwek High School and a former teacher for that matter, and we run a massive alumni program in the school, and we are overhauling the old infrastructure of the school and putting up
using funds from the alumni.
And also doing a good job within that space. And so Bomet High School is vested in Tenwek High School to establish.
So does Bomet High School exist?
Bomet High School exists, and it opens doors in January, and this is how it was started, because it's good. We
in January next year.
January next year, yes. This is what
so
happened.
It's not there.
No, listen.
Open the doors next year.
Have an opportunity to listen, because an idea must begin somewhere. Because the people of Bomet Town in a presidential rally petitioned the president to start a modern school within the town, because there are no schools within Bomet Town. and of course the president gave a directive that the school be started immediately, and the president undertook to avail funding, and that is where the 50 million came in. If you want to start a university in Bomet, you don't pump money directly and open an account. You must partner with an existing university. All universities that exist have been constituent colleges of parent universities, mentoring universities. The same case with schools. If you want to start a new school in your constituency, it will be mentored through an existing school with a structure, with a board of management, and with the working systems. So Tenwek High School was instructed and given guidelines to start Bomet High School, and that work is in progress. I've seen the plans, I've seen the land, the money was wired to the school account, and an account has been opened for the project, and the classrooms and laboratories. It is not just going to be a school where you build one classroom and do small little things. Is a mega school within the town, and the CDF is pumping in another 15 million shillings on top of 50 million shillings.
Which constituency?
And that is Bomet Central Constituency. And you can talk with Honorable Kilel. So really, talk about your constituency. Don't talk about what another member of parliament is doing, what another member of parliament has canvassed.
We are here to discuss education.
So I can confess here that Bomet High School does exist. It will open doors in January. It is being mentored through Tenwek High School. School Infrastructure Committee of Tenwek High School Board of Management is overseeing the construction of the classrooms and all the requisite infrastructure to start the school on behalf of the Ministry of Education.
Is this how the government? Is this how the government starts new?
Yes,
schools?
That is how new schools are started.
It's a
that is how new schools are started.
It is a policy that is used.
Let me tell you, if there is a mega urgent strategy to start a new school immediately, and money is availed, you cannot wire to a non-existent board. You wire money through an existing school that can account. So Tenwek Boys National School is an existing school that is known with a board and has been given instructions to
Mweshimwa has said
establish
that
the
50 million in the last budget was allocated to Bomet High School. Does that mean that in the previous years also there's some 50 million that has been allocated?
No. It is in the current budget, and the money the money has been ring fenced and an account open, and it's under the supervision of the Board of Management of Tenwek High School on behalf of the ministry.
You explained very well, Mweshimiwa, but why has the ministry not been able to explain this? Because what you're saying is logical. It's something that you can look into and you can determine. The explanation, the reason why it becomes an issue, because this explanation that we're hearing was not given.
And that is why I'm asking Mweshimiwa here, as a member of parliament and as a committee, they should be able to interact with the ministry and they'll get those facts.
They have. He just said
those are facts. You know, the problem we have in Kenya is that we politicize things and we don't use facts, and then we blow out of proportion, just like the St. Mary's Hospital thing, where Bishop was saying money has not been wired from SHA. But later on, when it was established that 98 million had been wired out of 117 million that was due to the hospital. And then you wonder, at the end of the day, why do we use lies? So, for example, this one of Bomet High School.
No, Mweshimiwa, please. What the MP was telling us is what his committee found. He wasn't giving us his opinion. He said, this is what they raised. And they took the matter back, please, to the ministry and said, give us your report. They took it back. They did not. Because I raised the issue with him and he said, they've been waiting for the ministry to furnish them, and the ministry has not.
That is actually that now becomes an issue. That becomes an issue.
The PS 3 times. He has dodged the meeting. Now, number 2, let me ask. You know, Honorable Sossion, you are a unionist, right? And you understand matters of education. I cannot really say I'm a guru in this sector.
None of us is anyway.
You have been there for years, so you do understand it. What is the process? You've said something that I've just picked while you are speaking, that Bomet National. What is the process of a school becoming a national? Do you just build a school today?
And it's not Bomet National.
You said,
I think,
no, he has said a national school.
Yes. If you listen to the build-up of his conversation, it is a school, because I was listening. They want, Bomet Town did not have.
That's correct.
They want to now build a school.
Yes.
What I believe he was saying, they want to raise it to the level of a national school. But his conversation was not that they are building a national school. No. They're building a school, in Bomet
for the people
Town.
of Bomet Town.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, but it's on a scale. The scale is what is hoped will be
They're
national.
50 million.
Have I understood you right?
Yes,
they're
you are
50
correct.
million.
Yes.
And it is being
Budget is
and
allocated.
it is being mentored by a national school.
Mheshimiwa, tu
Tenek Boys High School.
kidogo tu so that you can get his point.
Budget allocation is done by Parliament.
Yes,
I have said that our committee never allocated any money to a Bomet High School.
Okay.
And that's why we flagged it. It was not allocated by our committee.
So so that we can be clear on this fact, your committee will allocate X amount, say, to Nairobi school, X amount to St. Mary's, X amount to this other school. That is
how it's supposed to be.
Okay.
Right?
So at no point did you allocate 50 million Kenya shillings to a school called Bomet Town High School?
No.
Okay.
Now, this is the procedure how the committee works. It doesn't allocate votes at school by school, but it allocates to a program within the ministry. So if, for example, say for building of new schools and infrastructure within the boundaries of the Republic of Kenya, the State Department of the Ministry of Education is allocated, say, for example, 15 billion shillings. So how to disperse to the schools shall be done by the ministry and accounted to Parliament. So the committee does not vote to a school. It doesn't.
All right.
Is that a fact? It votes
that I agree.
to the program.
Okay. That I
so
agree.
I think the disconnect here,
not
so that
schools.
The disconnect here, so that we can close this conversation once and for all, because we don't change policies in this show. We don't change policies in conversations anywhere. That is how it is done. So I think what the committee needs to do is to get the ministry to come and account how
they're unable to get the PS.
Yes, they should be able. The PS is in Jogo House, and the Committee of Parliament can summon him, and I'm sure they will.
You have summoned him.
We've summoned him
I am sure.
Yes,
I am sure they will, because as I'm explaining here, I'm a vetted and sworn leader in this republic, and that story of Bomet High School, I think
I'll let it go.
It should be closed. It should be closed, because
as I walk out with him,
I've accounted how
he knows where the school is going. And
yes,
it's opening in January.
And it's public.
I just asked him to show him some photos
public information
of the work in progress, because it's opening in January.
You've said that work has already begun.
Yes, the school is opening in January.
Yes, work has begun. The drawings have been done. Approvals by the ministry are being undertaken, and the delivery of the classrooms, administration, laboratories, libraries, and other requisite infrastructure will be concluded by early in the year, and the school will open early in the year. By early in the year, there will be a principal, there will be teachers, there will be students, and it will operate as an independent.
In 3 months.
Yes, in 3 months.
3-4
January,
months.
So if we go there is work going on.
You know, the way I feel this discussion perhaps need to take shape is, when an example is given, it should serve as an example, and the facts pertaining to the example is what we're looking at now.
Correct.
And we are understanding something that even I did not understand, how it is money is allocated. It is true. The parliament you belong to is a budget making. So did the one you belong to.
Yes.
Now, budget making, meaning they are the ones who decide which money goes where and how much of it goes there.
Yeah.
And it is true. Money goes to the ministry. It doesn't go to schools. No, it goes to the ministry.
To the programs.
Now the programs, because there are various programs that must be served by this money.
Okay.
It helps tremendously if officials of government table some of these things publicly so that people know. Because then the debate becomes a debate that is based on knowledge and information.
Yes.
In the absence of it, people will use conjecture. Now, if it's against a backdrop of ghost schools, you see, the thing that puzzles me about ghost schools and ghost students is the length of time this conversation has been there. It fascinates me because, after all this time, if you know they are ghost schools, how is it that you are not able to identify these so-called schools so that the conversation of money is going to ghost schools ceases to exist? Or is it now ghost schools are labeled ghost when one doesn't understand the process by which some of these schools are actually being built, and we don't understand the government process? Edna has fixed something.
Continue.
Okay.
All right.
You see, government processes are actually fairly clear. They are not murky. There's step A, there's step B, there's step C. Now, when a step is missed, is perhaps what may raise a debate. Like the queries that the Auditor General raises. They are queries, meaning she doesn't understand this is what was supposed to have been done, and somehow it doesn't fit with what the money was. So somebody summoned and said, explain this to us that we understand it.
Yeah.
Now, my question is, when these things are explained, do we listen? Because there are times when these things are explained. I am always seeing people coming to committees to answer questions. You belong to such a committee. When they come to you
and explain,
do they explain? And when it is explained, do you then go out and say, this was explained to us in the manner that we asked?
You see, the CS was seated right in front of that committee, together with the CS Treasury. I was the chair of that session when all these questions were raised. The CS Education had to say, kindly allow me not to answer these questions and give me 2 weeks so that I interact with my peers to bring answers.
Okay.
To tell you how murky it is. And this was about capitation and infrastructure to schools. It's just a very simple query. If these things are transparent and done as per procedure, what is so hard? And we're not saying publish them in the newspaper. We're saying it, present it to the committee in charge of education in this country. That is all we asked. But we are now literally in our 3rd month that small answer cannot be brought.
Maybe it isn't small.
Exactly.
And maybe
Has the PS said why they can't appear?
It was the CS.
Remember,
But
the
now
CS is the boss.
PS.
The CS is the boss.
Yeah.
As we summon the CS, is him to come with his principal assistant.
Okay. All right.
Right? To come and explain. Because there are 3 state departments. And I would like that, other than us just sticking to basic education, we also need to talk about education. There is the higher education,
yes,
right? The universities. We also need to discuss that.
Yeah,
there is a problem there. And you'll understand some of the problem, because I've listened to his explanation about, I've never heard of it, just heard of it today, that for you to start a school, you need a nurturing school.
Yeah.
You see, and he has related it to university, right?
Correct.
But I've seen very many new schools that are started by CDF, and I sit in the CDF committee. I have never seen. No, it's still a school registered on the Ministry of Education.
It is. It need not be a point of disagreement. You're just talking about 2 ways in which schools have been started.
Correct.
Yes, and if there's evidence to show that both of them have worked, then we have 2 systems. There may even be a 3rd one which we haven't.
Which we don't know.
Correct.
Yes, exactly.
Correct.
Yes.
So
Because
generally,
there are some which
now
are
you
even
understand.
started. There are some schools which are even started by church organizations.
church organization, then handed over to the ministry.
Government, yes. They are Harambe schools. Well, now
we raise funds.
Yeah, now you're talking about
your CDF, the ones you are model.
Those are yes.
No, for CDF is not Harambe. That's a government project.
No.
CDF is government money.
No. Government CDF comes in, but locals also contribute.
Yes.
No. Nowadays, you cannot. CDF does not allow joint projects.
When did this happen?
No, they don't.
When did this happen?
Of late, you cannot have a proposal.
Why I'm asking was, I was the chairman of board of management of a school in my village.
At least in the last 3 years, you can do that.
I was no longer
CDF no longer.
Seriously, because when
Actually,
I was there,
CDF does not
I was
co-fund.
speaking from experience.
For clarification,
CDF does not
a
co-fund.
CDF project cannot be
Co-funded,
but
yes.
it can be a CDF project within a community-initiated school, because when a community initiates a school, there will be many requirements. There will be labs, there will be what. So CDF can only elect to do a laboratory. That is it, and then the community can do other things. The ministry can fund another program. There are many funders.
But now the question will be, what is the process of starting a new school?
But I think no, our host has stated very clearly that there can be many.
Yes.
We know one way you initiate, CDF can decide to build everything. That is one. That is one, and they can. Number two,
that's not what I'm asking.
Number two, the community can initiate and mobilize their own resources, begin building one classroom, and grow gradually. I've done it myself. Number three, where government comes in with deliberate funding of massive funding of this nature, like the Governmental High School you are talking about, and 50 million shillings is allocated. That is superintended through another established institution that can be accountable and that can report to government. Just like the way universities and colleges are started. You cannot start a college from the blue. It must be mentored by
another one,
an existing one.
And it's okay.
That's the practice we've done.
I don't think there's a problem.
And
there's no problem on that.
The problem here is communication. How we transact this information, how we clarify, and I think the burden of proof lies between the committee and the ministry to
And
clarify,
one
so
thing,
that
by
we
the
get
way,
things right. The accountability challenges we are talking about was the numbers of students. Where you get a school has got bloated number of about 50 students for purposes of capitation. Another school has got bloated 100 students, and then when you accumulate nationally, we can have close to 300,000, 400,000 or 500,000 students non-existent benefiting from capitation. And that is what the ministry is now cleaning by doing what we call verification of data. And of course, with the establishment of Kenya Education Management Information System, because this data must be clear, and I think the committee has the responsibility to oversight the ministry in doing that, so that then
this one, I'm glad you started this discussion, because now you'll help me understand how a school is being started. What is the process that a public school, this school goes through, the point where they are in the system? Because for you to receive money, you are in the system. What are these processes that are followed so that that school is in the system, and because it is in the system, it can now receive money? What's that step? Because it's something that has puzzled me, and I'm glad you two are here so you can explain this to us.
Now, if you start a school, let's speak, for example, Bomet High School, for people to understand.
Yes.
The funding that has gone is for infrastructure. It is for infrastructure. Nothing else.
I'm talking about registration. Before we even get to the school itself, the school bit that I have no problem with so far. How do you get to register a school? How does a ministry get to have a school
in its system?
Yes.
That's what I was asking.
Then the next step is the process of registration of the school, because you must inspect the facilities, get the public health, get a report.
So you start first.
Yes.
But the ministry has already spent money.
No. Just listen.
The process. You start it first. I want to understand. Let's walk through this thing.
Because once you have a master plan of to deliver deliberately, you will deliver.
Yes.
There will be the public works, there will be the public health, there will be an inspection report, and they will consider even this infrastructure that has been put up by government and look at all those other gaps, and then project how many students will be admitted, for example, and then proceed with the registration, and then you have the interim registration certificate provided by the ministry, and then the ministry then will inform TSC.
What's an interim certification? What does it do?
Interim certificate to allow you to operate.
Which means you finish the school.
Yes.
It exists.
You don't have teachers, you don't have students, you don't have nothing.
Yes, for example, when you are starting a new one, like this example for Bomet High School, how it will go.
Yes.
That is the process.
So you get
once
this
the
temporary
interim certificate. Once the interim certificate is provided, then the next thing will be the Teacher Service Commission to be communicated to. The first thing TSC will do is to deploy a head teacher, a principal. So once a principal is deployed, who is accountable, then the other processes can commence, like establishing a board of management in place, TSC sending more teachers. But for this case, since it is a school of interest, it will receive a principal and probably a good number of teachers to start off with. And it will have a board of management in place. It will take over the operations of the school, and it will operate like a normal school. For example, I've given you an example of this school of big interest for Bomet Town, and I can tell you by March, it will have a board of management in place, it will have a principal in place, it will have students, it will have teachers, a reasonable number from TSC, and it will have admitted students. And there will be a clear projection on the number of students to be admitted, and whether they are boys and girls, whether it's going to be day and boarding. Those are domestic decisions to be undertaken. Mheshimiwa knows that it's done at that level.
So when you mention,
I've given you that example.
So
all the other schools will follow the same format.
So part of what you tell the ministry, they will need to understand the number of students you hope to cater for in this school.
Yes.
All right. I'm not even bothered. But after all this has been done, you're now in the system.
Yes.
If this is the process that we follow, how do we end up with ghost schools? Because we know they are ghosts because they're being paid money and they don't exist.
Now, a ghost school is a school that is non-existent.
Yes.
Money is wired, and that money is expended against a non-existent school.
That school exists in the system of the Ministry of Health.
Correct. Education.
It exists. That's a health.
Yes, you did say health.
No, health is always on my head.
In the Ministry of Education.
Yes, it exists.
Yes.
If money is wired to a non-existent school and it is expended, and that school does not exist, then that's a crime. Just like we have ghost students, just like we have ghost workers in the payrolls, it is possible. I was only telling Mheshimiwa here that fight ghost schools. You have every right to do that. But a school that has been proved to be existing and we can account for it, take it out of that list.
So in the case of these ghost schools, that means that they went through a similar process. It's just that they did not exist. So that means
no, so not a similar process. That
because the question that City Muga asked was, how do we get the school?
Now the question is so that we don't discuss guesswork. Committee of Parliament oversights on behalf of the people. Are we able to list all these ghost schools? Let us list them up to, say, 20 or 30. So then we can knock off those we can prove it's not a ghost school like Bomet High School. That one is not a ghost school. It's a school in progress, and it can be accounted for, removed from the list, and then remove the others. Check all these others that have received. If they have received, for example, capitation, like Bomet High School cannot receive any capitation until when students are registered and they're in the KEMI system. That is when it will begin getting the allocation per student. Now, these are the ghost schools. Let's now talk about ghost in terms of real cost, if they really existed. A school exists in papers and documents, and money is wired. That money is spent. The next year, the same school receives. It doesn't exist. I think that should be an issue of concern. Just like schools receiving money against ghost students within say for example, a school is enrolled 1,000 students but is receiving capitation against 2,000 students. That's corruption, and I think that has been the problem at the ministry. And for me personally, I've questioned the lack of accountability structures in the disbursements of all these funds. Because this is Kenyan money, it must go to do a real job. If today your constituency say Vihiga High School, you want to start a new Vihiga Vihiga Secondary School,
Vihiga Township,
and it is a great
school,
township,
yes.
It is discussed in the public, it is known, and government puts in 200 million through Butere Girls. That is something that is known. But that is something that is known. It has gone through public participation.
So in the ministry account, will it be Vihiga the new school or Vihiga the one receiving the money?
The logistics, no.
In the budget, in the accountability.
In the account, it is not Vihiga High School.
It will be
Bomet High School, but through Butere Girls.
But Bomet High School is not a registered institution within the ministry. So therefore, it cannot be it cannot be right having received, because it has not received the money. What has received the money is Tenwek, not Bomet.
Listen, when
ministry, what showed it was Bomet High School has received the money. That's when we asked, there is no such a school.
Let me answer you. In the next financial year, July, by the end of the year, that money will have been expended at Bomet High School. It will have its own board, it will report, and it will account every shilling as Bomet High School.
There's a question I have for you. Have you been able, apart from now in the case of Bomet High School, have you been able to identify any other ghost schools, and have you actually visited the locations that they are purported to exist to see if indeed they do exist or not?
Remember, members of parliament represent constituencies. So how are we able to raise such a question that there is no such a school? It's because we come from those areas.
Okay.
It is someone saying, hey, I operate from that area, there is no such an institution.
So the MP for that area actually
someone comes and says, there is, when they have access of money that have gone to their jurisdictions, we do follow-ups.
Okay.
How much did my jurisdiction get? That is when a member of parliament who may have not been involved in the bigger scheme raises query like, I didn't know I had school X. So they're the ones who will come to the committee and say, you guys allocated money
to a
school in my constituency
that does not exist.
Okay.
That is how we raise these issues and say something is wrong.
Okay.
And the beauty about the current constitution, for someone to know, remember, a senator may also be passing through the list. Because everyone has interests.
Yep.
So he'll be looking at money that has gone to his county. So maybe the member of parliament was part of the bigger scheme, but the senator is not.
Yeah.
So someone will flag it that there is no such a school in my county. Right? An area MCA can raise it. Nowadays there are so many eyes that for you to smoothly sneak in this thing and go scot-free, you must have so many people on board, which is quite costly.
So you haven't visited any of these institutions?
Because they don't exist. Why are we going to visit something that doesn't have an address?
You haven't visited just to confirm it actually doesn't exist?
The member from that area, we've asked them, it doesn't exist. That's what I've said. As we live here, I'm happy I said the school is opening. It started January. By the last statement, it was now March. It looks like a moving goalpost. I'll want to see some photos because it's opening in January. Work must be ongoing.
Gentlemen, we need to take a short break.
Mheshimiwa, let us be civil.
Let's take a short break.
I said by March, everything will be in place.
And it is okay.
Yes,
we've had you.
Okay.
In studio, there's CT Muga, myself, and we have Honorable Clive Ombane Gisaro. He's the MP Kitutu Masaba constituency, and he's a member of the Education and Research and NG-CDF committees. Also with him, we have Honorable Wilson Sossion. He's a veteran educator and a unionist as well. Before we get to the conversation at hand, I need to read a few comments here from a couple of individuals. Tuko na Mark Moseri amesema, there goes my MP, bravo. Engoko. What does Engoko mean, Mheshimiwa?
Engoko is the Gusi word for chicken.
Chicken.
Kwake. Yani hiyo imetoka kwa huyu kwake.
Right. Mkenya Mzalendo, we are happy. We are a happy constituency by electing a development conscious leader. I'm proud of my MP Clive Gisaro. Then we have Mr. Olepunda here asking a question. Why is Sossion, where is it? Talking about the truth is that Bomet secondary school does not exist. No amount of anger is going to change that. Okay, I think Mheshimiwa, you've spoken about that issue, and you have said that by March tutakuwa verify the existence or none.
Existence is completion, bro.
It's completion.
Yes.
Operation intake.
Yes.
Then they have Scholastica Mora anasema we should go and see that Bomet High School that is opening in 3 months. Okay, Scholar. My take anasema new subscriber here. Oh yeah, so thank you very much. My take here ametusalimia. Then we have Geoffrey Mogaka amesema wacha tuseme wanasafisha rada in the meantime. Bogo Edna anasema hatuangushi sisi kama wana Kitutu Masaba. I like it. Gogo my MP. Clive Gisaro. Then we have Adrian Terry asking who is responsible for admittance. Do schools have a system centralized in the Ministry of Education? Things like birth certificates and or passports for foreigners can be mandated if people don't have birth certificates. Ministry of Interior has a lot to explain. Then yeah, I think that's a question that we'll probably start with. Kenya, Winnie Maganga nasema Kenya is transitioning to the CBC curriculum. What are the biggest challenges you've observed and how can Parliament support its success? Then we have Isaac Olegora anasema watching from Morako Manga Sub-County Kitutu Masaba. Yes, alafu kuna Ambassador Beja amesema greetings Radio Generation. Let's start with that question of admittance. Who will admit students to these new schools? Or rather, how is it done? Do you just walk into a school and say, I have a student here, admit them?
No. For schools that have been duly registered by the ministry and processed by the ministry, it is the ministry that will guide on the mode of admission, because admission of students to schools is guided by the policies of the ministry. Say, for example, you are starting a new school, and that will be a senior secondary school for that matter. So you'll have to design that school to offer how many pathways: STEM, sports and arts, and social sciences. So if you design a school to offer the 3 pathways, then you also process the admission criteria and even indicating the number. For example, Bomet High School is going to have the first 9 classrooms ready, laboratories ready, library ready, and other basic infrastructure. And I think that is a school that is going to offer 3 pathways, so that then it caters for the needs of
the community,
in a qualitative and impactful manner. So that is how it will, but it will be guided by the policies of the ministry, and it will admit students from within the catchment of the town. So it's likely to be organized to be a quality day secondary school of high value within the town. So it depends. That is, it will be guided by the policy of the ministry. If a school is started by, say, CDF, you put up infrastructure and the rest, then you sensitize the community and you propose as a board the number of students you can accommodate in lessons with the ministry, and you admit according to the policies of the ministry. And that admission, of course, is nowadays is done through computer work, as ICT guided, and students are able to choose. And if a school does exist after the choices, then there are those provisions for those who have interest to change and apply for admission. So it's not a difficult thing. It's professionally guided. Once we have a principal in school to coordinate the admission work, and you have teachers either deployed by TSC or employed by the Board of Management and working within the guidelines of the ministry, then the school will begin operating. It will be up and running. That's how schools are started. I witnessed as Secretary General NAT, and I campaigned for this all over the country, that the opening of day schools and giving quality to day schools across the country, because those are day secondary schools, because those are the most affordable, the most available to the poor households. And if we dignified these schools by ensuring that the day schools, we've got quality infrastructure, quality classrooms, quality laboratories, and deploy qualified teachers, and we mount a curriculum that is so diverse. The curriculum that you get at a national school, say like Alliance High School, you will get it in a day school in Kitutu Church, and you have qualified teachers. These students will continue doing as good as those who are in national school, and that is how to achieve equity in education. So I think as a country, we've got a lot of work to do to expand access to education and to ensure quality of education. And I'm a firm believer, even as we move to senior secondary, I'm a firm believer of making day senior secondary education available qualitatively. And say, for example, Governmental High School, to me,
there's a question.
If I was asked, I would recommend, let that be a quality day school within the town, and where we have a diverse curriculum of different pathways. We can have foreign languages being taught in the school. We can have,
I think, Mheshimiwa, you've
all those other
Bomet enough.
Now I'm giving an example, and it is good to talk about. As in teaching, you start from known to unknown, and it is you who brought Bomet High School to this show. So now that you've brought, I'm using it as a teaching aid for this.
You're really marketing it.
Thank you so much.
I'm surprised it's at this school.
There's a question for you, Mheshimiwa, here. Kenya is transitioning to the CBC curriculum. What are the biggest challenges you have observed, and how can Parliament sustain its success?
Number one,
first of all, is CBC successful?
Now it is CBE.
Yeah.
So it keeps changing. The ministry keeps changing the name. Sometimes we also get lost. For me, the CBC was actually one of, it was a good initiative, right? Because it was meant to move away from viewing education as a competition and throwing each child into the same basket and expecting all of them should have the same abilities and capabilities, which is not true. With CBC, we are trying now to start sorting these children from a very tender age and start knowing what are the strengths for each child, and therefore focusing on nurturing that. It was more individualized, right? The mistakes are not, the problem is CBC is now 9 years old. It's 9 years old, but it will be treated as if it is 2 years old. It's not, because it started when the children joined grade 1 in the new curriculum. The current children were in grade 9. Those are the pioneers. So they've been in that system for 9 years. So it was well intentioned, and I thought it was actually going to help change there. The 844 was more of a, cram and download, and you see that does not nurture the child. The problem is we didn't prepare adequately. But is it too late? The answer is no. Can we fix it? Yes, we'll fix it. Because, first of all, the number of teachers being recruited, of course, the current government will take all the credit that they've recruited teachers. But whichever government was going to be in office had no option, because the curriculum was changing, a new set of a junior school was coming up, teachers were going to be recruited. So that was automatic. It was going to happen. So the teachers and the Committee of Education has really purposed to always ensure in every budget there is money to ensure that teachers are available. My problem is that we are actually not tooling the teachers, or rather the instructors, correctly to meet this new change. The instructors we are sending into this new system were equipped to actually fit into the old, the 844 system.
Can I just pause for a second and ask this question? We know the institutions that train our teachers.
Thank you.
Did we adjust the curriculum for this training of these teachers to meet the needs of the CBC?
That is what I'm saying. This problem is 9 years old, and we never foresaw and prepared adequately for it.
Okay.
You see, therefore, because for me, if I look at it, CBC is more technical oriented, you know. It is not the theory, right? But you're preparing a teacher, and that's why our higher education is failing us. We're still offering a Bachelor of Education, which should no longer be the case.
What should we offer instead?
Now, we should be having people take a specific course in university. Let's say Bachelor of Science Physics, right? So you become a scientist in physics. And then after you graduate, those who feel now they want to go into education, they go into a postgraduate diploma.
And the difference between the Bachelor of Education and this one would be what exactly?
Because now, you see what you're doing, Bachelor of Education, you're just producing a teacher.
No, that is not what's happening. No. I have a Bachelor of Education degree. That's
Right.
why you see me lifting my hands like this.
Yes.
It doesn't work like that.
How does it work?
No, my problem is this. You know,
I
you should
think,
have listened to me.
I think,
Why are we still, you know, look at currently university. What is the biggest population of those taking teaching? I will not compare the teacher of your day, the teacher of his day, and the teacher graduating today. I will not.
Why?
Because you as a teacher, you'll agree with me. Now, number one, you enter a classroom whereby there are 300 students taking Bachelor of Education CRE. TSC today, in their role, those who have TSC numbers are over 400,000 yet to be absorbed. 400,000. Why? Because it's no longer about quality in the universities today.
It's about quantity?
It's about quantity.
I'm not so sure that that is absolutely correct.
It is correct because it is a money-making venture.
I
They are
think
trying to
we
remain
are
afloat.
deviating from the big question you raised.
Yes.
Because I don't think it is right for us to get out of the context of CBC.
You see,
and
that's
the
where I was
need
going
for
before
teacher
he pulled me aside.
preparation.
Oh, don't worry.
Mine was, I was saying,
Yes.
if we, I'm not saying we kill the education.
Yes.
I'm just saying we restructure it in a way. First of all, we go into speciality. Someone goes and becomes a biologist,
You know,
right?
you know the reason why.
And then if he wants to be a teacher, he
You
can
now-
go a postgraduate
Mheshimiwa,
diploma.
do you know why I interrupted you?
Yes.
Before the degree of Bachelor of Education was brought into our education, the high university education, what you are stating is what used to be the case.
Right.
It was not, the Bachelor of Education degree didn't always exist. You did a degree in physics or whatever you studied, then you did a diploma. Then it was crafted. By the way, you actually study the subject you're supposed to teach. It's not as though there's an entire, now I'm telling you from what I've studied. The entire curriculum of that subject, you will learn it. Education is one of the many units that, it's just a unit you study. So it's a far more comprehensive education than most people think. You want to add to it?
Yes, I think if we propose new things,
Yes.
we'll create confusion. Let us start from known what we are doing, and then we do an analysis. Is it the right thing we are doing or not? Rather than creating confusion left, right, and center. A teacher in the model of Kenyan training is created from day one of entry to the teacher training college and to the university. And that has made things very good for Kenya. If you look at the best teachers in global standings in terms of competition, and in fact, that teacher from Eminem Secondary School, that physics chemistry teacher is the best in Africa, because these teachers are made from day one. You become a good teacher if you are made from day one at the training institution. For example, myself, I trained as an agricultural extension officer. Yes, that is my training background. But because I had to be prepared for two options, I had to be prepared also as a teacher from day one. So I was made a teacher from day one, and that is why we have the best teachers in Kenya. Did you want
to teach?
Yes, I wanted to teach.
Precisely. I also wanted to teach.
I wanted to teach.
Yes.
And you see,
now, let's come to the issues. Let's come to the issues of the moment.
Yes.
About CBC, the missteps. You know, a curriculum is not a Simon Makonda affair, that you wake up one day and you want everything done in a day. That is a mistake we made. And that was a mistake of Fred Matiang'i. And I complained about it. That you cannot conceive change of a curriculum. Yes, it's good to change, but you cannot conceive change of a curriculum in May, and then begin piloting in June, finish piloting in October, and you don't have even summative evaluation finding of that piloting, and you want to roll out in January. I complained and I protested because that is what was done. If you want to pilot a curriculum, pilot from January to December.
Yes,
have a summative evaluation, have professionals to review, have university lecturers from the Dean of School of Education to do papers, research. That is how it is done professionally.
Schools where you pilot.
Schools where you pilot. Yes. So what was done was dangerous. And that is what is being corrected now. That's what the Presidential Working Party is talking about, retraining teachers, is talking about reorienting the teacher reorienting the teacher training colleges and universities to do the same. This is what should have been done. And I agree with you, my brother Mwalimu of the show. Curriculum change should have started at the teacher training colleges and universities by changing the model of training of teachers so that you train the teachers who are needed for this curriculum. And that projection should have been done.
You're not agreeing with what I said.
It should have been projected. It should have been projected that the first rollout for grade 1 will occur, say, in 2025.
Right.
And that you are doing it in 2015. So you begin training teachers to commence. Yes. And then you train new teachers as you deploy. Teacher training in any country, as guided by UNESCO, there must be a policy of training and recruitment so that you train the teachers who are required in that particular number. You don't commercialize that. You even get to Kisii, there are so many private teacher training colleges, everybody is training a teacher.
That's what he's not agreeing with.
That is not the right thing.
That is how we've ended with 400
training. Teacher training is guided by a policy. And that should have been, and I think that's what you take up as a committee. But nevertheless, this damage was done. We are in the 9th year of rolling out CBC.
Yes.
The only thing we can do within the framework of UNESCO is to review, and that's what we guided the president. And the president said, we don't want to do things like we are doing politically. Let's subject our curriculum to constant review. Remember the other day, the debate on mathematics? Whether students taking humanities and others who do maths, you know, somebody very crazy
who came up with that?
That was original design.
Idea.
That was original design of CBC. If you look at what is being done, it is discarding the very bad policies that existed. But you can see the debate that Kenyans came up with was picked up very well by the ministry. I'm happy because I can see when an issue comes up, it is treated seriously, and the ministry since corrected the curriculum design, that then the students who choose the other two pathways, not STEM, can do another model of maths that's ideal for them. Because everybody does maths. Even if you're a linguist, you will need maths at your master's level.
When you say another model of mathematics, you mean like
a simple
alternative.
So watu wa STEM watafanya mathematics ngumu?
Yes.
Pure
watu wa arts watafanya mathematics simple.
Yes, which is relevant to the bit. You know, there are different modes of maths.
When you put it that way, it may sound like it is not a good policy, but you see,
but student can choose.
What do you understand maths as a subject? Is it a science or is it a humanities or an art subject in your mind? What is maths?
It's a science.
It is not.
It is not a science.
Maths is a language.
Maths is philosophy.
Maths is a language. It's philosophy.
Yes.
It helps in critical
thinking.
Science.
Yes.
And the options of maths that has been provided, even a student doing performing arts can choose the alternative of maths that STEM students are doing. It becomes a choice.
You see, the cognitive energy that you have and the strength, that's what maths does from a very, very early age.
Yes.
Problem solving.
Even those of us who've done masters, when you're doing statistics, you feel energized when you're working on figures and numbers. You feel
now that is
some power, some energy.
That's critical thinking now.
Some power, some energy comes to you, and even when you are arguing and you argue on figures and numbers which are accurate, nobody can debate about it. And that is why even our education system, it should be evidence-based. It should not be guesswork. It should not be political. A curriculum is not Simon Makonde. Now that this curriculum is headed to the
who is Simon Makonde? Because this name has come up 3
Simon
times.
Makonde, you know the story. Who was born on a Monday. He was born on a Tuesday.
I like Sossion.
He married on a Wednesday. He fell sick on a Thursday. He died on a Friday.
Oh, that one.
Every time something backfires, right on their face, they will say, "You see, that was the initial."
No. Who is their face? There is who?
He is speaking purely on behalf of government. The way he's defending it.
I'm not speaking on behalf of government. I'm speaking freely.
No, because you see,
I'm speaking
time,
independently.
Every time, like now, the issue of mathematics came, and you quickly said that was how it was designed. No, it was brought out by this government. It's us who complained that no, you cannot say the people doing arts not to do maths completely. That is when they backtracked.
But let me remind you, Mheshimiwa. Let me remind you, Mheshimiwa. Before you became a member of parliament,
yes, you are a member of parliament.
The biggest complainant about the way the curriculum was being rolled out in this country was Wilson Sossion.
And I want you to continue with that spirit.
And listen.
Because now you've deviated.
Listen. I've not deviated. I raised pertinent issues. Procedural matters. I raised it consistently.
Continue with the consistency.
Listen. And I placed it before the current president, and he listens. He listened, and I'm happy. We have been given that democratic space to do consultation and to review the curriculum rightly as it should. And to me, I'm happy when there is that space to do so. I am sure if it was the other regime, we wouldn't even have debated about this mathematics thing. It would have been dictated.
There is this
document. And let me tell you, democracy in education is key. Allow people to
debate. You've referred to a document here several times.
Yes.
The presidential
working party.
Do you know that document has never been tabled in parliament nor adopted by parliament? But you expect parliament to apply budget on the recommendation of a document he has never adopted. Do you know that's why in every parliamentary document, every time the ministry or whoever comes, he's always told you cannot refer to that document as it's not an adopted document in parliament.
Yes, that indeed is true. Part of the recommendation have been implemented. Like, for example, domiciling grade 7, 8, and 9. Some of the recommendations have been implemented, and they have to be implemented because they're urgent.
Were the findings made public? Were the findings made public?
They were made public. Now they've been casted into laws. There are 13 bills that are being prepared.
So what's the disconnect between what you're saying and what you're saying?
Let me inform him.
Yes.
Let me inform him.
It has not been tabled.
Let me inform him. There are 13 bills and there's a sessional paper. Sessional paper will encompass all aspects of policies. No, the sessional paper flowing from the Presidential Working Party on Education and Reforms will contain that. And it is coming to Parliament within 45 days.
So you agree with me? None of this document or recommendation has ever been tabled in Parliament.
You had the President's
pronouncement last Saturday. Parliament has not adopted it.
You had the President's pronouncement last Saturday when having the conversation with teachers. Because the teachers said we need the sessional paper tabled in Parliament and adopted so that the policies that are contained therein, the policies contained in the Education Charter in the Presidential Working Party can become law and
but you agree that the President himself actually asked my chairman to stand up and say why it is stuck in Parliament, only for the chair to say it has never come to Parliament.
And
so even the President didn't know where his own document is.
Let me ask you something, Mheshimiwa. In these committees that you sit in, I'm sure you sit with folks who are in UDA, who are friendly to the government,
right?
Kenya Kwanza government. Why is it that let me ask this question. Do they actually tell the president that, look, hii kitu unafanya usipoileta kwa parliament ikuwe adopted, it will fail when it comes to that time where you want it implemented? Does that conversation happen ama mnakaanga tu mnangoja, then when it comes, that's when you tell him kidogo haikufikia hapa mali ilikuwa inafaa kufika, so it won't happen?
You see, for me, it's not my business what UDA members of parliament tell their party leader and in that channel, right? Or government. Mine is to vet and audit what is right in front of me.
Okay.
Mine is not to speculate. Mine is to say, whichever time a government official comes and quotes a document, mine is to remind him, Parliament has never received that document and therefore it cannot use it as a point of reference.
Okay.
Plain and simple.
Period.
that is the work of the committee. And while we sit in the committee, he'll attest to it.
Yeah.
While we sit in the committee, there is no UDA, there is no ODM.
It's a committee of the House.
It is a committee of the House, because at that point, I'm not there as a member of parliament for Kitutu Masaba. No. I sit there as a member of parliament representing Kenyans in the education sector. I don't sit there as a constituency member of parliament, neither a party. I sit there as that is seen as a committee, and whatever decision we make it as a committee. Yes, so it does not have that political.
So fundamentally, because we don't need to deviate from CBC, what is the future of CBC? A lot of corrections have been made, and it is being made. The next big thing is transition to senior secondary. The most beautiful part of CBC, and I never objected from the beginning, is the pathways, because that will lead to specialization. You don't need to get a student to do all the subjects in the world that are not relevant to their careers. And that means at grade 9, students are able to project the careers, the range of careers that they will be able to do, and choose the right pathway. To me, we should prepare and calibrate all our senior schools, because I've been hearing arguments that there are empty classrooms. No, those classrooms are not empty. Those classrooms can be converted into rooms to manage and deliver the technical subjects. You have electricity room, music room, woodwork, fine arts room, woodwork, foreign languages, and the rest, because that is what we should have done to prepare the human resource and to prepare the infrastructure and the teaching and learning tools qualitatively. This should be the conversation. And how schools are prepared, it has been left to the schools to prepare themselves, and students have made their choices. And I think the biggest, the point of success and the tweak of this new curriculum is the pathways. And how well the pathways will be implemented by the schools.
All right.
More teachers will be required, more resources, teaching and learning resources, mostly, not even necessarily classrooms, teaching and learning resources, because if you want to teach music, and not just music, performing arts, performing music, drama, and the rest, you will need certain facilities, certain infrastructure, and you need qualified teachers for that.
Which can only take place if we have fair distribution of resources, which is not the case today.
The question is, let's not talk about distribution of fair resources, because that was taken care of by the Constitution of Kenya 2010. Every constituency is receiving CDF. So no constituency should tell us that they don't have minimum in terms of classrooms and the rest. It is now time we match the sources of the resources and the requirement.
That's the sad
of the
explanation every time.
Can we get that?
Schools.
Maybe Mheshimiwa, you can
No,
let
because
us
allow me
where the
finish.
disconnect is.
Allow me finish. We must now be able to link the resources with the implementation of senior secondary, so that then these pathways, of course, as many schools as possible should be able to provide the 3 pathways. If we are talking about day secondary schools in Kenya, who admit currently 76% of the students.
Yes, they do.
76%. And that being the case, then the day secondary schools should be calibrated, supported to be able to deliver 3 pathways as much as possible.
All right.
So that becomes the challenge, and that's the truth. We should tell ourselves the truth as a country. It is not only the work of government; it's the work of all of us.
There are other issues.
The work of communities, because education is a collective venture, is a collective responsibility.
Mheshimiwa Sossion, there are a couple of other issues we need to discuss, and we are running out of time. For instance, we saw teachers visiting State House, and I think the president, we've learned, promised them 20% of the affordable housing. I don't know what your thoughts are on that.
I think it is sometimes sad that we make pronouncements maybe for political excitement or to excite the people. The housing had its own reasons that it was conceptualized. First of all, remember, it is not the current president who started the issue of housing. Even the last president did housing, affordable housing, right?
I was going to say affordable housing has been in this country for the longest possible time.
Correct.
But anyway, let me not disturb your thoughts process. Go on.
So, I don't know why nowadays, you saw when Harambee Stars was playing, housing was thrown into the basket. Now teachers, yes, they were told if you win.
Yeah, but where's the problem with that?
No, I'm not saying there's a problem.
Yes.
Just allow me to continue speaking.
Players who ask for it.
Oh, by the way.
No, allow me to.
Can we allow the Mheshimiwa to just finish his thought?
No, allow me to say this.
Yes.
We're having a conversation. It's not an interview.
Right.
When you have a conversation, people interrupt you. So please,
let me continue. You see, it is not wrong to do it, but it's how we do it. Like now, and I feel the unionists who went to State House really did fail the teacher. They did fail the teacher, because when I saw a senior unionist, instead of raising issues in the sector, started by saying kumi bila break. That was a political statement.
It was.
Whereas I expected
and it's a
him
political
to
right
raise
also for them.
Yeah.
It is a political right.
It's a political right, but they went there first of all to agitate for the challenges the teachers are going through.
Maybe that was his way of agitating.
That was a very, very poor way.
Yeah.
Because your work is not, as a unionist, is not to praise government. It's to say these are the challenges we're having, because we are working towards fixing a system. The education sector is having challenges. So the president also stood up and said, 20%, they signed something there. Yeah?
These are two politicians talking. The unionist is a politician. He's talking to another politician.
But now, you forget,
how do you expect that conversation
the
to continue?
teacher's pay slip will not even allow him or her to even take that 20% of the housing you are being offered. Those are just stories that we're offering. Can we stop politicizing some of these things? The housing has been here for years, but now, first of all, let me not go there.
But you are a politician.
Okay. Now, I'm a politician, but you asked me about housing. Housing was supposed to fix the problem of housing challenges.
It actually was.
These teachers have taken loans, they have built houses.
I agree.
This is not what they wanted to hear there.
Allow me
telling them that you need to income more. They don't have anything in that pace.
Allow me to enrich this conversation and Mheshimiwa's contribution. You know, we respect other people's views. That's your view. Rightly, as you are saying, the housing has been in law since 1967. There are 3 social programs that were introduced under sessional paper number 10 of 1965. One of them is NSSF, one of them is NHIF, the other one was housing, but was never implemented. The law has existed. And Kibaki administration tried to focus during the coalition government, slum upgrading, that was one of them, and then Uhuru administration tried and discarded.
Go earlier on. You see, all these national housing projects that we had were also an attempt to do this.
Correct.
Yeah, so, but please continue.
But now it has been implemented massively, and about close to 200
at the expense
sites
of the payslip.
Close to 200 sites
at the expense of the payslip.
Now, the fact of the matter, as a unionist, there are 3 social programs.
Your teachers are earning negative because of that levy.
And I fought for more salaries which they are earning, and they've received even twice.
I'm sure it was in your time when you signed a CBA which was non-monetary.
I did not interfere when you're talking. There are 3 social programs that any government must invest in. One is health, one is education, and serious government will be bold and invest in housing. I was in Bahamas, and when a teacher is employed into service, one of the benefits is a house. And you occupy that house and pay slowly for as long as you are in the teaching service. It becomes an offer and a gift and a benefit. The visit to State House is permissible under ILO UNESCO recommendations, where teachers are entitled to their political and democratic rights, and they must be given forum to raise their views before government.
No one
and when they
disputed that.
raise before the president, then that is a proper forum. And let me tell
No
you,
one said the forum was improper.
And let me tell you, no, I'm informing you.
No,
and those who
you don't need to inform me, because I didn't say the meeting was improper.
Those who feel jilted and feel defeated by the engagement, because that engagement was a policy meeting.
The Committee of Education was there.
Allow me.
We are not saying it was improper.
By the way, can you allow me to finish my
statement?
statement?
Because you're saying, you're informing me. I have not disputed the fact.
Now, there are many issues that were raised by teachers, and they didn't raise it on that particular platform. There was a memorandum, a petition given to the president that was perused through item by item and orally raised by the leadership within that space, and the president responded to many things. To me, there are many benefits. Reducing the CBA cycle from 4 years to 3 or 2, which is work in progress, is benefit to teachers. That's a benefit, because teachers will earn more within a shorter period, unlike if the CBA was to stretch to 4 years.
Does CBA automatically translate to earning more?
Yes. When you reduce from 4 to 3, it changes automatically. On the basis, that's a fact.
So assuming it's 3
so
years.
that means teachers will earn more earlier than.
So every 3 years we discuss.
Yes, but the last
and
CBA
so the current CBA, the CBA I signed in 2016 was 54 billion. The one which was signed in 2021 through coercion and massing of unions by Uhuru administration, which you know was non-monetary.
That's why I'm saying it's not automatic that if you reduce it to 2 years, teachers will earn more.
That was corrected by President William Ruto in 2023 by offering a 10% salary rise for teachers and all other workers. It has been corrected now in this financial year by offering a salary review for all workers. And then now, with this conversation on Saturday, the CBAs will be reviewed further to 3 years. So when it reduces to 3 years, that means the next financial year, July, teachers will be and other workers will be earning higher than what they would have been earning. So that's a big take home. It's a benefit. Any unionist must always stretch to gain something for workers. Number 2,
Wilson,
the number of teachers being promoted will double from 25,000
to 50
to 50,000. Is that not a benefit to teachers?
Subject to budget availability.
Is that not something that ought to happen normally?
Exactly.
Should teachers not be promoted annually?
Yeah.
Should these increments not be there to meet with the cost of living realities?
There are adjustments that the union must push.
Yes.
And if a union pushes for a review of a CBA to be implemented in a shorter period, it's beneficial to members.
Let me ask you, you said you were in Bahamas. How do they do it in Bahamas? Is it yearly, 3 years, 5 years, 10 years? How do they do it there?
No, the ILO standards is that CBAs should take 2 years. And that is what the unions were pushing at State House. And you had the president saying, I have consulted and I've been told actually that this thing, international practice, ought to take about 2 years. Meaning the unions were able to convince the president that 4 years is long, and the president agreed. And he even asked, can it be 2 or 3? Let this committee go and look at it. That means the unions, the union leadership were able to convince the president to have it reviewed. It's a major gain to me. And then number 2, getting more teachers to be promoted annually. It's a big win for teachers. I'm talking about specifically wins for teachers. And of course, if the number initially during the Uhuru administration, and that's where we disagreed, and I took matters to court, the career progression guidelines were outlawed by the courts. But after I left, they were forced back. That was restricting the numbers. And we agreed with the president that reopen the promotions, both direct and indirect. That is why you wanted to put
why did we have a moratorium on the promotions in the first place?
Somebody was saying reduce the wage bill.
All right.
That was the policy.
What is the ratio that we currently have of teachers to students? I'm taking the discussion. I I want us to understand this.
You know, when you talk about the mathematical ratio in terms of student to teacher, some people are talking about 1 to 40, 1 to 29, but I think the UNESCO recommendation is 1 to 25.
Yes.
Even the ratio changes as you move from one level to the next.
Agree. And our level and our ratio.
Now I'm concluding.
Yes.
Allow me to conclude naturally the gains and benefits from State House.
And make it brief.
Let me make
I'm
it
actually
brief.
energizing the conversation.
To the housing.
You can't make it.
Housing is a major benefit. And I agree, the Unionists signing that agreement gives them a basis to lay claim and fight for allocation of the houses across the country to benefit teachers, those who will be able to access. And to me, the key beneficiaries are the new teachers entering service, because many of those young fellows
had been jobless.
They have been jobless, and they cannot build houses within a very foreseeable future, and they will be working in the teaching service for a long period of time. Say, for example, let me use say Narok West. If there are affordable housing in Narok West, the teachers will be employed and deployed within that area. The new teachers can actually acquire those particular houses with the little loan that they get from their circles. And of course, the beneficiaries of the housing, I'm saying, for example, of course, even if it is wide, when you get housing, and Kenya is opening up in terms of transport and infrastructure, movement is good. The most important thing is a house. I'm looking forward to a future in this country where a teacher or a civil servant upon employment is able to access a house. So to me, this is a major benefit, because first of all, the unions are able to ring fence 20% of the houses. The modalities of how to assign to teachers and to benefit is the next detail that they will work on. And teachers are very organized cooperators with their cooperative movements, with their investment programs. They're able to see through new opportunities.
I want to see how that will work, because because
as a political statement, it makes perfect sense.
Yes.
But in reality, it doesn't.
On paper, it's
even on paper, it will make perfect sense.
That's what I'm saying. On paper,
it's a good argument to put across. The reality is, if there's a bunch of people who normally take care of themselves instead of building houses, it's teachers. They are fairly organized when it comes to these things. Believe me. In fact, most of the houses that you'll find in those rural areas, the people who want most of those houses are teachers.
But now the next biggest frontier of investment by teachers, particularly the new ones, is not building homes, but is procuring the already built and available affordable housing. Because look at it, a young teacher acquires a house with a deposit of 160,000. It is different from when you take a loan of 1 million to build a house.
I agree with you.
Over the years, our discussion
with you.
Urban centers.
So let me tell you, the affordable
bigger chunk of Kenya.
What Mheshimiwa must agree, and he must accept. I read his politics.
I don't think he has to accept.
No. He must accept some things. When facts are too strong, you accept and throw in the towel.
But what you're saying,
affordable housing model, the manner in which it is taking root in Kenya is so popular, is going to revolutionize human settlement, and aligning the professionals to be the beneficiaries is well within their social rights.
Can you allow us to wait and see how this thing works out?
And let me tell you, as a unionist,
I would like
as a unionist, housing as a benefit for workers is a plus.
Unionists are politicians,
is a plus.
And I understand the sales pitch is wonderful. I feel this is a good thing.
Yeah.
Can we wait and see? There's something you want to ask.
Yeah, no. He has actually brought it up.
The point is a valid one.
Yes.
It's an extreme.
And he has
I cannot argue against that point. But before our time runs out, there's something that I wanted us to talk about. Research. It falls under your purview. What is the focus that the education ministry have on research? Because if you look at the so-called developed countries on this world, the one thing they've prioritized more than you can imagine is research.
It's a nice question, because just a month ago, I attended a conference by the National Research Fund that has the responsibility to get the funding, and even our committee actually, it's that fund we give the funds to ensure that research.
You're the ones who allocate the funds. I am very happy to meet you
on matters.
On matters.
Ask them what percentage of our revenue they give to that research.
Yeah,
please go.
Currently, it's far below the accepted standard. It's actually around 0.8
billion or million
percent
or 0.8%
revenue or
GDP. Whereas the accepted one should be over 2% internationally accepted. But you find that we have grossly underfunded research. And we're having that discussion at Egerton University recently, and it has led to most universities actually technically no longer doing the research, and you find that most researchers now are doing it on the side.
Actually, universities should be at the forefront of research.
Yes, but are they being funded? Those are some of the discussions we need to have. Why does government not prioritize and putting enough resources into research? You know, Treasury will send their estimates in each whatever and tell you, Ministry of Education, this is what you have. So what the Committee of Parliament does is try to share that, right, to all the needs. But again, a new confusion has come. A state department, we used to have 3 state departments: basic education, TVET, and higher education, right? Now a new one, State Department for Research, was created.
So now we have 4? Is that what
we
you're
now
saying?
have 4.
Okay.
But now it is not directly under the Committee of Education. It is actually under the office of Prime Cabinet Secretary.
Okay.
Why? Because they said research does not just, end up within the education. That there are other carry, other entities that are not directly under the Ministry of Education that also do research. So while you say that I may be the right person, as we speak today, we don't know now exactly whether this state department is answerable to, like as we went to Egerton, because at that point they were in an institution of learning. So we went from that angle. But you find that now it has been widened. But I agree that funding in research, yet we know R&D, even in any corporate, R&D should be the most funded, because that's the engine. We are not funding research, and without research you cannot innovate, you cannot produce.
Right. Sossion, over to you.
Yes, I think that is a more salient point. We should have discussed this particular topic very extensively, because you cannot re-engineer production without research. You cannot talk of manufacturing without research. You cannot talk of transforming the human resource without research. And even you cannot talk about changing curriculum without research. Research must inform you. And I would have expected universities, all the schools of education in the universities, when you are talking about this curriculum change, we should be having symposiums and forums where we are receiving research papers and findings. One area that in governance administration of this country has declined and has been deprived is research. And I think it was wise of the president, through the executive order, to establish a state department for research. And a state department for research is not an ambit of the Ministry of Education. No. The State Department for Research is cross-cutting. And in the national budget, this is now left to members of parliament. Allocating money for research should be at least 2% of the GDP. It doesn't say precisely 2%. If they do 5%, because we're talking about transformation, we should be able to do research.
South Africa is at almost 19%.
We should be able to do even research on CDF and inform members on of Parliament on how well that can be done. We must research on everything so that then we are an evidence-based country that is guided by quality data through careful studies that can lead you to do things meticulously. So I think as a country, a beginning point, and it's something that personally I would advance even within government, that the State Department of Research should be one of the most sensitive State Department that should be doing a lot of work in research in different areas. Research in universities should be reinvigorated, because the mission of universities is to conduct research, teaching, and community development. That is how the universities are
They're supposed to
designed.
expand knowledge, and you can't actually do that
Without research.
And our universities have never, if I move away from the Ministry of Education, our universities have never focused on research. Never.
Actually, even when you talk about
Never.
innovation,
The universities focused on commercialization and massification activities. And
What I said.
And you know, we don't need to prompt universities to do research. They should be able to initiate it on their own.
Yes, they should.
And I've always questioned professors of education in curriculum and others that why are you quiet? I am not seeing you presenting papers properly, research papers
this is a
on
question
this
to who now?
curriculum rollout.
You asked to the universities.
Yes, the university professors. And you see, they're inert, quiet. They're not asking questions, but they tell you quietly things are going wrong, A, B, C, D. But they should be able to communicate it through research papers. If today a professor of education has conducted a study and has findings and calls for a conference to do the presentation in a public lecture, that is allowed. I think we've not exercised our intellectual freedom within our governance system in this country. And I think coming up with that State Department is a good beginning, first step. But I think we should move a step further and urge the university dons and universities to go back to their traditional work of research.
I like what Mheshimiwa said.
Universities are meant primarily other than teaching and community development, to do a lot of work in research and even commercialize research where it's necessary.
I want to get you guys some coffee so that when we return, we focus on that issue of research, and we also focus, there's a lot of drama happening in the universities, by the way, and I want to understand what
that's a topic we need to have.
What the committee is doing in regards to that. And I like what you said earlier on about let us stop politicizing these processes, and I'm sure Honorable Sossion will agree with us on that particular issue. And I'll start with you, Mheshimiwa Clive. When we say research in this country, and as far as universities are concerned, why are we falling behind? And I know one of the issues we're going to discuss here is about university funding. Is that the only reason why we are not innovative as we should be, as universities actually should be?
University funding is one of them. Number two, I'll go back, we've politicized education, and worst case scenario is seen in the universities. Thirdly, we've tribalized university. University funding has its challenges. You know, we keep coming up with this model and that model. The initial model was said to send universities, you know, into pending bills. They were not getting enough money because the courses had not, you know, been properly costed. So we used to go to university in our time, and the fees was, you know, a flat rate, whether you are doing medicine, whether you are doing education. Now, that never came out before Matiang'i came and fixed the exam excessive, you know, passing that the university could no longer absorb. You know, C+ is the grade for taking in universities.
Yes.
So at some point, they said public universities could not afford to absorb all the C+ and above. Remember, the grade used to change. To some point, it had reached B plane. If you don't have B plane, you could not be taken by Joint Admission Board at that time, right? Anybody else now was admitted, because you qualify for university, into the parallel degree. That became an avenue for making some alternative revenue for universities.
Okay.
And at some point, before the Matiang'i, exam issues came in and really cut the A's from, I don't know, thousands to a few hundreds. And at that point now, the numbers, the public university could take everyone under the Joint Admission Board. What did that do? It killed an alternative revenue.
And killed research.
And at that point,
research didn't exist.
No, the research didn't exist. Universities had become a business. It became an entity. It was about how much money you are making, how many campuses you can open. There were campuses in every street. In my small town in Karoka, I had a university campus on top of a supermarket.
Was that not a good thing?
It only meant accessibility.
It's about the quality. My worry will be the quality. It will be the quality. Then secondly, so when that ended, the cash flow was cut. The university were not prepared for it. First of all, you've recruited in these satellite campuses, then out of nowhere, you have to downsize. You have to adopt from your lavish lifestyle to a very frugal one. Now, research was not there, while even you had the money.
No.
Now, imagine now without now the money.
Forget research.
We are now actually on survival mode. Number two, I said politicizing. As we speak today, do we need... Yes, the Constitution says each county should have a university. That's agreed, right? That's agreed. But what type of a university? What goes into setting up a university? Is it? I've visited as a committee member. We've gone to some universities that are being started. A local secondary school in my constituency has even better infrastructure, but we are told this is a university, right? Thirdly, I say tribalizing. Making it tribal. There's a point it reached that each university that started in our county, the vice chancellor must be mtu wetu.
Must be a local.
Must be a local. To some point, when people apply, the best in that shortlist, in the interview, may be from elsewhere. But we look for a way, hook or crook, to make sure candidate number 5 takes over because ni mtu wetu.
Okay.
That has a problem. Because anytime someone comes and a committee maybe says the university is being run down, we are not doing the right thing, there is no research, the vice chancellor is not doing his job, the local politicians will come to his defense. And this may look like it is not an issue, but actually it is affecting the quality of education in universities. It is affecting the performance of university, which generally means there is no point people will sit down and discuss how do we get research.
We can actually choose Moi University as a very good example.
Moi University is a very good example, and a few others.
Mary University.
No, I think it is not right for us to mix the topic of research, expansion, innovation and investment with other progressive programs,
such as
admission and parallel program. That was a noble initiative. I believe in 100% transition to secondary,
which I agree.
And I also believe in 100% transition
to university,
to tertiary institutions, not universities.
Tertiary.
Tertiaries.
Okay.
And that means we should allow significant number of students to take graduate courses, as we allow the rest, which are also significant, to take mid-level courses, that is the TVETs and other trainings. That should be the framework and the concept. But we should not undermine and walk it backwards the way it was done. It was right to clamp on examination cheating, but examinations are there to facilitate transition. They are not there to frustrate transition. That is where Matiang'i and team got it wrong, because it was possible to moderate exams and still get the significant number of students getting to universities. Module 2 programs were noble and wise. I'm sure Mwalimu here can agree with me. Even in the US, 65% transition to universities is achieved, because you allow as many. When you have a more educated society, it is very easy to develop the economy and do many things. But when you frustrate people not to transit, it's not right. So teaching becomes a priority. Avail teaching. Because in any case, those who will not be able to progress with the course will be discontinued or repeated. So to me, I don't believe it is right for the country or anybody to come up with a policy that frustrates transition. Those exams were not moderated, and I think over time I made a very strong, passionate advocacy on non-moderation of exams, because all exams must be moderated to create normalcy and transit the requisite numbers.
I'd like to just explain moderation, because some of our listeners may not understand
what moderation
means.
Yeah, because raw marks, what the policymakers did at that time was to use a uniform grading system for all subjects, which is subjects cannot take the same this uniform grading system, because they are performed differently by students, and therefore the raw marks that students acquire mean nothing until they are compared with others, and that is what we call moderation. So that then, even physics, the top student scores 70% out of 100. That 70 becomes an A, and you'll have a different structure of grading. Then you'll have overall, once it is graded, overall you will have a normal grading system that will give you and all exams are moderated internationally through measurement and evaluation instrument and tools. That one, Kenya dropped it with KCSE in 2016, and it had to be brought back by Amina in when she came back, but it was still limited. Mashogu tried to bring it in a very extensive way, but still there were complaints about it, and I've seen Ogamba has brought it up fairly well, and because now transition to university is almost at 19%. Kibaki, after free education, foresaw a possibility of transiting many students to universities. That is why in legislation he recommended establishment of universities at the counties, proper universities.
Correct.
Not back streets in the markets and the rest. And that policy should have been guided, because economic activities of the people of Kisii can have a university with courses that relate to those economic activities, so that you link the community activities with the courses that are offered.
Is that the case
in the university? That is what should have been done, and I think it can still be corrected. It is not lost. And what Kenya Kwanza administration is trying to do is to breathe life back to the universities. If you look at the funding to universities, because funding is everything, to do things is about funding. Universities are receiving funding up from 44 billion in 2022, now 84 billion. You can see they're breathing back to life. And even if alternative admission of students can still be conducted, Module 2 is okay. Where we got lost is that we allowed universities to engage in massification and commercialize without guiding them to ensure that they performed their core mandates of research, teaching, and community outreach. That one, I think the buck stops squarely at the doorsteps of Commission for University Education. The universities must be quality assured. They must be supervised. They must be guided, so that then they are not engaged in commercial enterprises at the expense of teaching, research, and community development. I think, and I agree with you, this is where you bring in, I come in as a minister, I impose my own policies in the sector. It's not right. First of all, deal with the policies which are there, which works. And if you have to come in with new reforms in terms of policies, take it through proper and meticulous consultations that are guided by research, evidence-based research, and also guided by the national goals, things which are known. Don't engage in bringing changes like, of course, there are those who are proposing that, no, we want to change now the mode of training teachers in this country. Let students train in their core subjects, and then after graduating, then they can begin taking education. That's a very dangerous proposal for that matter. So I think what we have done in the sector is to bring in keep introducing bad policies politically. Let us stabilize the sector,
but do you agree?
and let us protect what works, and then let us eliminate what must be eliminated. If it's examination cheating, let's eliminate it. But elimination of examination cheating and malpractices should not affect transition.
Yeah.
Let us have a more enhanced transition. And I believe, even as we look at the pathways and we look at the rights of students, it is a right of students to be allowed to transit as far as possible.
Okay.
Even those who take certificate courses, diploma courses,
I think
they have
education
options
mechanism
also to transit upward mobility academically to levels of professoriate.
I think our system already
as a
supports
country,
that.
as a country,
It supports that, so
As a-
that
as-
if
as
you
a
don't make
country-
it to
as a
university,
country,
you can start from certificate and gradually
No,
go it yourself. It allows.
I
it
can
provides
give
for
you
that.
history. In 2016, in 2015 exams, students who scored C+ and above in our exams were 265,000.
Okay.
But when this non-moderation was introduced in 2016, C+ and above dropped to 88,000. Really? From 265,000 to 88,000? Vacancies in the universities were 130,000? And I asked, what is the rationale? Yes, stamp out cheating, but do moderation. They didn't listen. 2017, that dropped to 70,000, C+ and above. And you remember Mago was saying, we want an A to be a real A. You know, the A's and E's in terms of statistics under the normal curve should be at least 2% in the end, 2% in the end of the overall candidature. So if you're talking about 1 million candidates, you can calculate 2%. That's about 2,000, 3,000 or 5,000. So you'll have 5,000 A's, 5,000 E's. That is when it is properly moderated. So that is the mistake that was made. It's a bad policy that was brought in. So for me, transition should be a right, and you should have a
Can I ask
framework
a question?
that allows
What
transition.
exactly did they think they were doing when they were introducing this? Because there must have been some thought process behind it. What were they hoping to achieve?
Well, up to date, I don't understand what they were hoping to achieve, but I think there were more wars within the sector itself.
Because the ramifications are clear, because we're experiencing them even now.
Because
Yes.
the collapse of universities in terms of funding can be traced to that policy.
Yes, it can.
And you know, it takes time to cure. Even though there's a new funding model that is student specific and that is focusing on poor students receiving more funding and more funds to universities, you can see it's still taking time.
You see
to
now
bring
where
the
research comes
universities.
in. If we had a strong research background, you know all these changes we're talking about, believe me, researchers would have
It
been
will
conducted on this,
Yes.
and we'd be saying, look, from what we can see, because we'd be conducting the research on things that pertain to us.
Now the mistake that was made
Yes.
is that universities were allowed to grow, to expand, to massify without promoting research. And the one area of benefit that the university should have benefited from the parallel programs and added revenue at that time was research. If they channeled more money to research activities, they would have had a very legitimate reason to argue out. But even when these other bad policies were brought in, because they were not doing research, they didn't have sufficient ground to really
fight it
defend
back, yeah.
what they were doing.
Yeah.
So the political whims and wishes of an individual at that time ran the show, and that is why we got into this confusion. So I agree strongly, even as universities begin getting streams of funds from capitation and the rest, they should pivot back to research. Even as we start a state department of research, the crucible, the platforms and the centers of research should even be at the universities.
Mheshimiwa,
So
someone-
it is never too late. We can correct. We may not get, we may not feel the impact of the results within 2-3 years, but in a foreseeable period, not very far in the future, we will see the value of research. Look at it. Our coffee research work in Kenya is giving us the best coffee. Now that the coffee is becoming an attractive foreign exchange earner, many Kenyan farmers are pivoting back to research. With tea research in Kenya, the tea research institute in Kenya is one of the biggest in East and Central Africa. Kemri, when it was started, it looked a small thing, but now it's a big research institution within Africa. So Kenya, we have the best opportunity to do that.
There's something I have to say here before you continue. This one I have to say. There's a gentleman who passed away called David Koech. Many people know the problems he had, and that were publicized. But what many people don't know
is the achievement.
Without that man's being in Kemri would never have grown to be what people see to be today. He allowed research to flourish. And most people don't even know that there were 2 directors before David Koech. People think David Koech
was the first director.
No, he is not. He was a third one. I'm saying this because I work there. But the point is this.
Yeah.
Well, yes, I'm talking about something I know.
Yeah.
Those problems notwithstanding, the man who gave leeway and breathed life into the process of research to the point where you see it was him.
Koech.
Very many of the things that even happened within Kemri, collaborations that have now built Kemri to
what it is.
Believe me, they were started by this particular gentleman. I thought this I should mention because it is important.
Yeah.
Yes.
And then the veterinarians.
So yes,
the veterinarians in Kenya.
We have a comment here.
We've got lots of discoveries, outcomes that are very credible within Kenya with the veterinarians, that we are able even to make our own local vaccines against many diseases. So Kenya is a very potential country to lead in terms of research globally, not only in Africa.
There's Adrian Terry who's saying, who's going to implement and or enforce documents gathering dust? Because we have a lot of master's students that we're graduating every year from every university. We also have PhD students doing something similar. Yet all this research is just sitting somewhere. Mtu amemaliza masters yake iko tu mali, and that thing that they researched on is not being implemented. So is it possible that there's actually research ongoing, but there's nothing being done to that research, to the results of the research?
Many universities actually have research documents gathering dust. That's very true. We've not even been able to support them commercialize the research, right? And that's why we want, a sectoral engagement, whereby the private sector.
Yeah.
But you find that if some research has been done in a public university, it is heavily guarded that someone cannot get into the private sector. And this frustrates those who are supposed to be researchers. They are not able to commercialize it. I do my work and it sits there. And one thing, Sossion, we're speaking a very rosy, trying to paint a very rosy picture. The universities today, even with the funding model, pumping in some money into the universities, today, the universities, public universities, have pending bills of over 74 billion. We are not talking about whatever money we are pumping in. Is actually just trying to sort out the pending.
Which we're going to ask a question, if I may. You see, I'm always disturbed by the request for more money, whether it's with county governments or public institutions. Do we have a good account of what they do with the money they receive?
Correct. That's a good question.
Because it always bothers me, because the amounts are huge. And then they want more. And I'm saying, wait a moment. Is there ample evidence? Because again, this is a research question. For you to say it's insufficient, then you must show us what you've done and what you needed to do, which in the absence of this money that you want is not going to be possible until you get it.
Currently, most of the money the universities get actually goes to
paying people.
There
is an organization we now call CALRO. Okay?
Yes.
There used to be CARI. It was CARI before we. If you know the work that research institution has done in this country, and how much of our findings have been exported to as far as Brazil, Australia, and so forth, you'll be amazed. When it comes to agricultural input, whether you're talking about seeds, whether you are talking about animals, the ability for them to crossbreed and what have you, it is amazing. Now, the lack of funding into these institutions has led to the closure of some of these institutions which were set up in specific areas. For instance, if you go along Mombasa Road, there's a place called Simba. Okay? There was a CARI station over there. It's a semi-arid place. But every time I passed there in the days when I used to drive what I was amazed was just the greenery of the maize that you would see there. It's a complete contrast to what you see around you. Why am I giving this example? I'm giving this example because we have 2 universities in this country that were set up for a purpose of agriculture.
JKUAT
and JKUAT.
Yes.
Okay? Now, Egerton had even the land. Massive. Egerton had the inputs where beyond the theory you could actually practice what you're doing. They even had a hospitality place, a hotel where you could, meaning everything that was taught there, you actually saw the end product of it. What am I saying? Why do we find ourselves in a position where we seem to engage reverse gear? Things that we were extremely good at and we had actually achieved.
Yes, Sossion.
I think all these things boils down to leadership.
Yep.
Leadership. This country must recalibrate their philosophy of leadership across all boards, institutions, and everything. And the president was very clear that the problem with Kenya is poor leadership in institutions, conflict of interest, and attitude of corruption. You are interested in making little wealth, you are a vice chancellor, you are given to head an institution, your interests and priorities are different. You are not bothered about the strength of the future of the institution and the delivery of those institutions. And this country has to correct leadership problem, so that once you have strong leadership and a leadership that is hands-on with the right things, a leadership that is participatory, that allows professional ideas to take root, and a leadership that allows the best people to run the show within those particular entities. Unless we have that, we'll continue discussing and politicking and everybody pretending to know when we all actually don't know.
How is that best reflected in the current government?
Let us have orderly leadership in place and the right things being done, and policies, good policies being implemented, and conflict of interest and personalizing institutions should be removed. And I think the Constitution is very clear. Even the principle of public participation, integrity issues, if we are to audit the Constitution, we've not implemented it properly. And I think the president is very key. He spoke about it very strongly when he was with the teachers, and I think the president was at his best of elements when he was outlining the overall outlook of the country, developmental outlook in terms of the economy, in terms of many things, what must be done. We must get out of the populist corner where we must only do things which are popular. Let us do things which are unpopular but correct, and people will agree in the end. The moment we get out of the populist brand of politics in leadership and we get down to do what is right and persuade everybody to understand, people will begin understanding a new pattern of moving the country forward. That then we must not always be doing popular things, but we must always do things which are right, which are beneficial to the country in the long run. Look at, for example, affordable housing is attracting a lot of debate. There are those who are dismissing, there are those who are saying we'll discontinue the levy. But let me tell you, whichever government that comes after the government of President William Ruto, they will do a lot of work in affordable housing, because then the Kenyan public will want it. It is now the best option of accessing houses. Not you and me, but those young Kenyans. Those young Kenyans will be interested in
discontinuing the levy and discontinuing affordable housing.
Number two,
those are two different things. Affordable housing has been there since 1967.
Allow me to finish.
Without the levy.
Any sensible Kenyans will agree. We need to strengthen everything that is good for the country, whether it's affordable housing, whether it's universal health coverage, whether it's accessible quality education. Everybody agrees, and I think this is the leadership that we need. Let us have a leadership that pursues, whether popular or unpopular, but the right routes to take the country forward. If we did that, even leadership at the universities would be codifying and protecting research and we'll be able to feel. When a university is conducting research and providing leadership, you can feel it. Why is it that at Kemri, to date, even intellectuals will agree, David Koech did a good job. It is a mark of leadership. So, and the leadership is resident in a leader. And that speaks to the leaders who are in elective positions, the leadership who are in appointive position. How do we appoint our vice chancellors? How do we appoint our different people to public institutions? Do we appoint people who have the infrastructure and capacity to provide the correct leadership?
I'm interested in what Honorable Clive has said in terms of the housing levy versus the provision of the affordable houses. Yes.
You know, those are two different things. Let us not, we keep linking the housing levy. We've said affordable housing has been there, right? I think the best thing is let us delink whether people have said, for me, we should even have education levy rather than having housing levy.
Right.
Let's educate our people. Let's get more money for research through that levy. Right? If for me it was channeled towards education, we could be addressing a bigger problem and in a long-term approach. Right? If you educate your people, you do research, you innovate, you start producing, people will have more income. People will afford their own houses. Right? We are solving problems from the top of a tree instead of from the root.
Okay.
But I think on that one, let us be alive to the provision of the Constitution. Article 43. The right to shelter, it cannot be postponed. It is in the Constitution. The right to health care, it is in the Constitution. It must be provided. The right to education in 53. All those are fundamental rights under the Bills of Rights.
So
and Kenya must move to provide. It is unconstitutional. It is completely unconstitutional to say we want to get rid of
money
the policy of housing.
Innovate,
we want to get rid of universal health care. The country must. The country and the economy. The country and the economy. The country and the economy must fund affordable houses and deliver. It must fund health care and deliver. It must fund education and deliver.
Okay.
Those are critical social rights for Kenyans and which cannot be politicized. And anybody trying to argue about walking back on those ones simply because another politician is able to deliver, I think is a defeatist way. What is delivered for the country is not delivered for an individual. It is delivered for the people.
Honorable Sossion, I see you gesturing to me about the time.
Correct.
Would you like to stay for up until 10 o'clock? Because I have a couple of more questions.
I'll come tomorrow. I'll come tomorrow.
All right, then we shall continue with Mheshimiwa Clive. But I thank you so much for coming through and for having this conversation with us. Watch that step behind you. Sitaki tuanze.
I will come tomorrow.
You'll come tomorrow? Karibu tena sana.
You'll come alone tomorrow. No problem.
Mheshimiwa Clive, thank you for sticking with us, till the end. What I wanted to ask earlier on, and it's an interesting thing that Honorable Sossion brought up, and it's on the issue of politics. And he has mentioned that we can still do this and within the frameworks of leadership and so on and so forth. But I feel like there's either miscommunication or misunderstanding between the current leadership, how it's set up and what they're doing. He said, take unpopular, positions, and at the end of the day, people will actually appreciate it. In your own words and in your opinion, do you feel like we are on the right track as far as those particular unpopular stands that the president has been taking? And are we actually going to probably in another 5 to 10 years start appreciating what we are seeing?
May I ask, these unpopular stands are which ones exactly?
What Mheshimiwa Sossion alikuwa anasema.
What's unpopular about them?
The whole issue on housing levy. That's one that was very unpopular with Kenyans, and we know people actually protested it a lot. The whole issue of SHA moving from NHIF to the new model, people were against that. University funding also, Kenyans were against that one, at least from what we saw on social media.
What is unpopular is not the idea.
The implementation.
They keep rubbing that to us, to try, clean themselves up. It is not the ideas that are unpopular. It is the implementation and the consultative nature before we agree on the perfect way to go. I can have a good idea, But once I bring it to a panel, like the three of us, you may also help in building into it. There are areas you may say, we don't need to have it this way. We can add this. You build into it. What we have now is the president will wake up and say, this is how I want it. He actually writes it down, and we don't edit it. There is no consultation about it. That is why you saw the new funding model. I agree. Personally, I agree it was a very good idea. But stakeholders were not given time to sit down and look deep into it. The MTI, means testing instrument. How do we mold it? You see? And that's why it ended up, we tried to run it as a committee when it was being questioned. I can give you a very good example. We sat with one colleague in the committee who is a widow. He's a member of parliament. And then we told the Higher Education Board, now open your simulation. We want to take these two cases. We ran her data with those inputs they had provided for. Right? And then we chose one of us to run the data of our house girl who is married to a guard. Now, this one is a child with two parents alive. But what are the jobs? A guard is the father, and a house girl is the mother. It placed the house girl's child at band 4. It placed the honorable member at band 1.
Okay.
Explain so that our listeners will understand what being in band 4 represented in terms of the payment which was expected
band
of you.
Band 1 is technically 95%
paid for by?
It's scholarship and loan.
Yes.
So household was just 5%. These other band 4 was technically 65%. And then 35 is household. Why? Because in the entry of widow, it was giving very high scores. The other one was both parents alive. Number 2, you took a case of a pastoralist with 300
cows.
And then we took a P1 teacher whose salary is around 35,000. Right? It again placed the child of this P1 teacher at band 4 and placed the millionaire who does not appear anywhere on KRA or anything, but is a millionaire who goes into Toyota Kenya and drives out a brand new Hilux in band 1. The idea was good, but did we sit and interrogate it? Do we allow people, to bring in ideas and say, in Africa, we have still not automated everything to a point you are not going to say, we'll put your NHIF and see if you contribute.
Who came up with this system?
It is the ministry and the quick fix approach.
The reason why I'm asking is because it is clear that it had been modeled elsewhere.
Yes. And then brought in here,
yes, without meeting the specific needs that we have.
And those are the issues we are saying, that you don't defend. If you didn't take your time to allow others to put input, it will end up being unpopular. Not because the idea was unpopular, but the implementation. Look at the same problems you're having with SHA. Remember, it's again the MTI bringing the same problems. And then, you wake up today, you say, NHIF was allowing those low-income earners, Juakali guys, to pay monthly 500 shillings per month. Now they woke up and said, no, you pay annually, pay the 6,000. What do you mean? You're just pushing everybody who was initially covered because they were able to pay mdogo. Now they cannot afford the 6,000. You're knocking them out. And then you're coming and saying, no, this is an unpopular decision, but it's going to pay fruits at the end. Which fruits? The Juakali guy remains the Juakali guy. He does not become a professor just because you changed it and said it's an unpopular decision which is going to bear fruits. That is what we are saying, that some ideas are good, but in this government, they don't listen. As long as we've said, that is it. I have sat in that government, in that parliament. Initially, as long as it was coming from the minority side, that was a wrong thing. Sometimes we had very good proposals. But where did it come from? Honorable Clive. Which party? ODM. That's not popular. No one is going to listen to us. That is what's bedeviling this administration.
The fact, okay.
You know, when politicians describe their trials and tribulations, it's always very interesting to hear. Why am I saying this? These are people who represent a constituency, but they also represent the nation. We have a situation here where certain things have been presented not just as a proposal, but as projects that must be implemented. And then a fundamental question is asked, okay, pilot. Universal healthcare was piloted in this country. It followed the processes that must be followed. 5 counties were selected. All right? We have 47 counties. For you to be able to determine the findings as being credible, we need to upscale from 5 to maybe 20. And even then, maybe not. If we got to 30, you could say, you know something? Given the sampling that we have done and this sample size, the information we've gotten is actually representative of the country. So we have an idea of where to go to. We didn't get there. The findings, I'll be told, were made public. The issue was not making them public. The issue was them being talked about and debated so that you understood. So when something is implemented, the reference point connecting the two is easy. This is what we found, and this is why we're implementing this. But also, it would tell you of the particular differences that each part of the country had with regard to how it is that they would want to receive this universal health care. We are not a developed nations.
Yes.
This uniformity you speak of, where you have a government that even understands that there's a sovereign fund where money is kept for the citizens, we don't have that. So these peculiarities must definitely and definitively be determined before you implement it. That didn't happen. So when you implement it in a universal manner, it is going to have universal problems. Because SHA is not the problem, SHA is the authority.
Yes.
Under the authority, there are 3 different sections. Yes, that are supposed to meet the needs. On paper, wonderful. Clearly thought out and what you would need. Now, if this discussion isn't had long and hard enough for people to understand what it is, they keep saying SHA is not working. So when you ask the question, okay, which part of it is not working? Someone asks you, what do you mean it's not working? You say, yes, I've gotten that, but which part? It is the burden of explanation is with the government. Ministry of Health and the SHA. It has a board, has people who run it. It's their job to make sure that this system is understood. Because on the one hand, you'll hear it's not working. Someone tells you, no, but it worked for me.
For me, yes.
Now, then they go back to NHIF and say, you know, under NHIF, this thing is what it used to work, blah, 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 blah. Change is good, but you must prepare people for that change adequately. Questions will be asked, but they'll be limited because they already have information. Something as simple as a desk, which tells you information desk. So you want a service, you go there. They'll tell you, no, that service, you'll not get it here. What you do,
go somewhere else and you'll get it there. And you say, I agree with you, because it's about this information. Like now, you had Honorable Sossion here. He has mentioned Presidential Working Party report. Who among you has ever seen it?
I haven't seen it.
But you'll hear this government keep referring to a document that none of you knows about.
They didn't ever come to Parliament.
No.
He just said it.
I said it, not tabled.
There are people who've come in to listen to the show before hadn't heard it. It's for their sake that I'm asking this question.
It has never been tabled in Parliament. So technically, like for budgeting, that document cannot be used as a point of reference.
And yet it is used as a point of reference.
It is being used as a point of reference. And that's why I'm saying we can't have a government that focuses more on hoodwinking people. That there is this report. Where is it? Who has seen it? Who has interrogated it?
What I'm getting from you, Mwesh, is the fact that there's a lot in this country that has been done haphazardly, haraka.
Yes.
People are implementing things, they just think up, tomorrow it's implemented,
yes.
A stamp is put on it and it has to work. There's something we've been talking about here with the CTM. We were talking about a blueprint where we can have something that can be implemented over a period of even like 20, 30, 40 years. Something similar to what we had with Vision 2030. So that we can know that in the next 50 years, we will need roads, hospitals, we need this and this and this. So that every president we elect after that, they can actually come and just continue with the dream and the aspirations of the document about the blueprint. I mean, the blueprint document had. So that we don't have someone waking up one day and deciding we shall have SHA, yes, yet we have NHIF that is already in existence. So that even when they're implementing SHA, it is something that we said we're going to implement some 20 years ago. The new CBC model, it's been there for 9 years. Had it been, in a blueprint somewhere, there would have been ways to ensure that it actually works, it is delivered, and no one would be complaining as we are right now.
I think the last time we had a president who could be the one who could who had that mindset of blueprints, it was Kibaki. Right now we have a president who wants to excite the masses. Why am I saying so? And look at even the mannerisms of President Kibaki. How many times did you see him in your local constituency? How many?
Almost none. I think actually I saw him once when he came for a burial.
For me, I never saw him. 10 years.
He never came to Kitutu, Masaba.
And he got the brains. No, he never came. He got the right brains and could sit them and then ask them, where do you think we need to channel this country to? So it is not about something about during my term, during the 5 years, right? I want to achieve, there are mega ideas that cannot be achieved in 5 years.
True.
They should be like a 20-year, 30-year plan, right? And therefore, you don't rush reports. You don't just implement a report that nobody knows about. But now, it's about you want to fix healthcare in the first 5 years, housing in the first 5 years, education in the first 5 years, infrastructure in roads in the first 5 years. Hell, that's not possible. If that was how things were to be done, then Kenyatta could have solved all the problems of this country before 1978. But because that's not how, a country is a going concern, we need to sit down and say how, and I look forward to a day we have a president who has that in mind, the leadership of where do we want this country? We cannot wake up and say, I want this country to be Singapore. From where? Singapore in 3 years. Singapore did not become Singapore in such a short span. They sat down, asked themselves, where are our problems? Which areas do we need to grow? If it's the cottage industry, where do we start? Invest in research. What is our strength, our economy? What is our strengths, our country, our geography? Is it agriculture? If it's agriculture, which sectors of agriculture? And then focus on that. How do we grow that? Step by step, in the first 5 years, where do we need to be? 10 years, 20 years. You come, as you said, with a blueprint. But now, it is, now those campaigning for the next time, they are saying, I'm going to cancel this, I'm going to cancel that, I'm going to cancel that, telling you, we are going again to recalibrate in 2027, again start afresh. And that becomes a cycle of 5 or 10 years, and we do not achieve what we need to achieve.
You know what is interesting, Clive?
Yes.
You've actually got something there. No one actually tells you, okay, let me backtrack. President Ruto's candidacy actually introduced something that we don't do in this country. Issues. You may not like the issues, but Hustler versus Dynasty was an issue. It was issue based. He took it further, signed charters, meaning this man has penned down social contracts. Now we've got something to judge him by. We can just tell you, Chief, you're the one who signed this. Please, it's not us guessing. In my mind, it's a step in the right direction. However, remember, I want to tie this on to the research we're talking about. All these changes that people make, if they were supported with facts, believe me, it would be so much easier to see what you need to fix and where, because Research will tell you this is what doesn't work, this is what works, yes. And this is how you started, and this is the period of time you need to implement it. People keep talking of Singapore. The details of what those leaders, it was not Lee.
It was long before.
Yes, and he had a group of people. You know, people keep assuming he had people he worked with and the people he could trust. Somewhere along the line, he had people he worked with who got themselves jailed because they did some crazy things. But that was to show that this system doesn't favor. You're my person, but you do something wrong, you're going to go to jail if that's what happens, if you're found guilty. But nobody talks about the countries that man and his people travel around to see. Yes. He came to this continent of ours, yes, to see what doesn't work or what works. Went to Ghana, went where he saw and he knew, hey, my friend, these people are the same stage as us. He was very clear about things which he will not do because they want to work. Okay? Every idea that you hear of coming from a new president can actually work. President Kibaki, with his idea in his first term, was an extremely unpopular president because of the position he took. Believe me, he was unpopular even in his own backyard. An unpopular president loses a referendum. You do not need to be told more.
Which he did.
If you're popular, you will not lose a referendum. He lost a referendum. We have a situation here where you find ideas that are being proposed and they are good, as Mheshimiwa says, but the blueprint which is supposed to contain the ideas and the facts
guide their
born out of research
aren't
there for you to talk about and to debate. So you're debating the concept as presented, and yet you should be debating the body of that content. And if that body isn't there, what exactly are you debating?
This blueprint we are talking about, who should come up with that kind of concept? Is it A, the president? Is it B, the president and his people? Or is it C, the people telling the government what they want to do?
You know, each government comes in with its manifesto. So I will not say the president, I'll say the presidency, which will include his cabinet.
Right.
So as you has rightly put, Lee had a group of people who, in this case, I can say a cabinet.
He did.
Right? A cabinet. People he believed that they had the right brains
to deliver.
To help him, you know, achieve and build, you know, structure it, give it the architecture that it needs for it actually to become that structure that they want, that building. That's what we lack here. We do things just to get claps and cheers, right? I get elected. Once I get elected, I got elected. I'm popular. I'm the best brain. Oh, people love me. It becomes me. Instead of, now I'm the president. Now I need a team. And this team, I need to allow it to also challenge me. The greatest leaders are the ones who are challenged by the team they trust. In a closed meeting, not in a public forum. They can always tell you, Your Excellency, we don't agree on this. Right? But when we have, I have seen CSs who are literally scared. They can't answer some question and ask in the Committee of Parliament because he doesn't want to be on mic to answer. He knows the answer, but and off camera he'll tell you, I couldn't have answered that on camera. You get worried. You get worried.
There are those who will tell you that the first parliament we had here was a parliament of equals.
Come again?
At independence.
Independence, yes.
They will tell you that parliament was a parliament of
equals, yes.
People could tell each other off and say, Apana.
Mzee, yeah, ifanye kazi.
No, that one is not going to work.
Yeah.
But the moment there was a split, it started us off on this journey that we now
we are in.
You see? But here we are. The push to democratize a nation to fit in with the demands and the needs of a nation are never easy. People are looking at what has happened in Nepal.
Yeah.
The first person who told me that was my Uber driver before I even knew of it. And I asked him, fine, they have done what they've done, and then? The and then has to be asked.
What's next?
Yes, what next? You want change, you must be very clear in your head what it is that you want to see at the end of it.
And how do we get there?
Exactly. You see, this is my theory even as we end. Kenyans have to learn to hold their leaders to account.
And how do we hold our leaders to account? This is an advice to Kenyans.
Yes.
we've consistently voted wrongly. We've gone to the ballot and voted a party instead of voting the person on the ballot, the name of the person on the ballot. That is how you end up, because you've decided we are going to vote party X. You vote the president, that party, the senator,
governor.
And you go to some counties, there are some counties that don't have the minority side. And if it is one MCA. The rest is just one party. How do you expect to achieve anything without having a counter
that's
opinion?
a choir.
You see, we are having choirs. The day Kenyans will go to that ballot and say, I like how Clive articulates the issues and his vision. I want Clive. And a very good example, and I have to give this to my constituency. I come from a constituency, Kitutu, Masaba, with 6 members of county assemblies, because we have 6 wards. The women rep of Nyamira County comes from Kitutu, Masaba, and me.
Full stop.
That is 8 elected leaders. While we sit on a table, we represent 8 political parties. None of us comes
from the same.
No. Meaning, when we sit on that table, we talk as equals. And we talk issues. But if we come, 6 are from one party, there is no discussion on that.
You will discuss what the party leader says. Thank you very much, Mheshimiwa Clive, for coming to studio and for having this conversation with us. We do invite you once again.
Thank you.
So that we can talk matters development. But this is where we come to a close. To every single one of our listeners today, thank you so much.